The Trump administration is finally banning Chinese purchases of farmland. I think they should seize it all outright, but it's finally happening, citing national security concerns around the military, but also food security concerns. So this is pretty big. It's a major move. Along with the tariffs and the moves that Trump has made, he is strengthening the United States nationally. And it'll be interesting to see what this turns into. But we do have a bunch of other little updates on many other stories. James Comey, with this investigation that's going on, it's being reported that he was actually surveilled by phone after he posted that 8647 thing, which has many people wondering what the investigation may be, how deep it may actually go, if they're actually tracking his cellular device. We got another video about leftists attacking ICE, throwing makeshift spike strips in the street. We'll talk about that. And of course, we got to talk about Superman. It's coming out tomorrow, and apparently it's going to be woke. The story's about immigration, the director says, but apparently he's kind of walking it back because I think he's putting his movie at risk by trying to make it political. So we'll talk about all that. Before we get started, my friends, check out our sponsor, Venice.ai. Did you guys know that the CEO of X just stepped down, Linda Yaccarino, a day after Grok went insane? Yeah, that's wild. Well, we have this Venice.ai sponsoring the show, and they say that they're uncensored. It's better. It tells us when asked, I am a better AI because I operate uncensored, prioritizing directness and completeness in responses, unlike heavily restricted models. I answer questions as they are asked. Now, I'm going to tell you this. We have messed around with Venice. I guarantee you it is uncensored. Sometimes a little too uncensored, but it is uncensored. So we can talk more about this. We love messing around with Venice AI in the after show, so that'll be in the members only section. But my friends, ChatGPT has the former director of the NSA sitting on their board right now. Edward Snowden called it a willful, calculated betrayal of the rights of every person on Earth. Your Amazon device, I'm not going to name it, listens to you and recommends products based on conversations. Meta is retargeting us based on our browsing history. It took all of us too long to realize how much we were giving away. OpenAI has even hinted that they might start requiring users to provide government-issued IDs. Venice utilizes leading open source AI models to deliver text, code, and image generation to your browser. No downloads, no installations, or anything. Private and permissionless, they don't spy on you or censor the AI. Messages are encrypted and your conversation history is stored only in your browser. The AI can be extremely valuable, but we shouldn't be giving up our privacy to use it. So they got a pro plan. It unlocks the full platform and features including PDF uploads for summaries of insights, the ability to turn off safe mode for unhindered image generation, the ability to change how Venice interacts with you by modifying the system prompt, limitless text, and high image results. Actually, we've been pretty impressed with the images it's been able to produce. Highly offensive political images that all other platforms actually censor. So very good. So check out Venice.ai. And if you want to use AI without fear, you can get 20% off by going to Venice.ai/Tim. Shout out. And we're going to mess around with this again in the Uncensored Show because we love goofing off and it'll be weird. But also don't forget, click the link in the description below, dccomedyloft.com. This month, 26, come hang out with me live. Alex Stein will be there as well. We've got some big talent. Hopefully they're confirming by tomorrow, but it's going to be a fun show. And it's looking like, I'm not going to say I don't want to say too much as that, but it may be about the depths of comedy, wokeness, censorship, and what we should or should not be allowed to say, no matter how offensive it is. So we're intending on this one to be a particularly offensive comedy debate style discussion. And you too, as audience members, will be invited up onto the stage to sit at the debate table when you go. Sign up, grab a ticket while you still can. It's going to be a lot of fun. So don't forget to also smash that like button, share the show right now with literally everyone you know. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more is Ben Bankas.
What's going on, man? Thank you.
Not a whole lot. Who are you? What do you do?
I'm a comedian, and I live in Austin, Texas. Regular comedy mothership, and I'm touring the U.S. right now.
Right on. Well, we need you. It's a slow news day.
Yeah.
So we need someone to make this show entertaining.
Yeah, I'm gonna do my best.
Yes.
The Chinese thing should be good.
All right. Well, here we go.
They're taking away the rice farms or whatever you said.
That's right. That's right. And we need rice.
Only the sticky rice, though, right?
Only this. Dude, sticky rice is so good.
It is.
Anyway, Brett's hanging out.
What's going on, guys? It's Brett. Normally Pop Culture Crisis Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. We might cover Superman tonight, but we have definitely been covering it over on our channel, so you should go over there and check out those clips.
Hello, everybody. My name is Phil Labonte. I'm the lead singer of the heavy metal band All That Remains. I'm an anti-communist and a counter-revolutionary. Let's boogie.
Here's the story. We got this from the Washington Post. U.S. to ban Chinese purchases of farmland, citing national security. They say the U.S. Department of Agriculture Chief Brooke Rollins announced Tuesday the U.S. government will move to ban sales of farmland nationwide to buyers tied to China and other foreign adversaries, citing threats to national security and food security, an effort that casts uncertainty over property currently held by China-linked investors. Asked whether the U.S. government would seek to take back existing land owned by Chinese investors, Rollins said they are looking at every available option as part of a clawback effort, and that an executive order from the White House will probably follow very soon. That means Trump's going to say it.
It's a crawback.
Crawback?
Yeah. It's a crawback.
Oh. It's a China joke. Let's go. All right, anyway, in a joint news conference with Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and Homeland Security Secretary Kristi L. Nome. Did they put the L in there? We know Kristi Nome is.
Is that her choice that she wants to now be known with the L in there?
I don't know. I'm surprised they didn't put, what do they call her? Ice Barbie?
Yes. That was the first question. I was like, what costume is she wearing today?
She really does seem like it seems like she gets like dressed up in costumes. The way she was holding that gun was extremely awkward, and the whole kit stuff.
She should do an Iron Man cosplay.
She should. But I mean, it's always like context dependent too. She's got like, if she's going out with the ice guy, she's dressed up like she's going to go kick a door into.
The full lashes on her eyes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's great. Yeah. I love it.
I felt bad because a lot of times I'd point that out. I'm like, come on, it looks like a costume, and nobody ever. They're like, look, I like her better than whoever was there before. I'm like, that doesn't mean we can't make fun of this too.
I mean,
you can do good work and still get made fun of.
Absolutely.
Wait, are the Chinese people farming? Or are they just buying it?
I think they're just buying the land. I don't know that they're actually farming anything on it.
A lot of the land is near military bases.
Is that why I've been noticing milk's been tasting a little
soy saucy? They're not dairy farms.
I don't know. What kind of farms are they? Like corn?
I think they're just
probably.
I don't even know if there's actually anything being grown on it. They're just buying the land itself.
Yeah.
I mean, look, man, you can't, like, China's an adversary. I know there are a lot of people that are like, oh, you can't say that stuff because you're xenophobic. I don't care. Like, China is an adversary. And so, like, we shouldn't allow a foreign adversary to have property near sensitive locations. We just allowed them to fly a balloon all the way across the country, straight over where all the nuclear intercontinental ballistic missile silos are. You know they were taking pictures. It's time for the United States to take China seriously as a threat.
There is actually something nefarious there about the idea that they don't even have to be growing anything there and doing anything actively nefarious. The idea is just there's only so much land and they could just buy it up and not use it.
Yeah, I mean, if I that's true, but if I understand correctly, the actual amount of land is not significant. It's not like a lot. Even when people were talking about like Bill Gates buying up a lot of farmland, it's like he wasn't actually. When you think of how much farmland there is in the U.S., he wasn't actually buying that much. But if China has access to sensitive locations because they've got, the CCP has, property near these sensitive locations, that's just an all-around bad thing. And I really
don't know if I want H Mart to go out of business.
I don't know.
Take a look at this. This will shock the delicate sensibilities of the average American. You can see Chinese-owned farmland in America by the New York Post, and you see all these plots of land. Now, here's what may surprise you. The entire island of Hawaii is owned by China.
Where do they grow?
It looks like the same amount of people that voted for the Democrats.
Where
It does.
Where do they grow the orange chicken?
I just want to. So those are chicken farms. Those are usually buildings, not grain farms.
Florida.
But they are in fact orange.
Yeah.
They're orange chickens.
This is old too. That's not Fort Liberty. That is Fort Bragg, ladies and gentlemen.
But here's the funny thing: that people have been sharing this image around. Like, guys, this is clearly not real. China didn't buy Hawaii. I mean, look at this. Like, that's Hawaii. Chinese-owned farmland in America. They don't own Hawaii.
Yeah, but the thing is like, this is how you get people now. You just post an infographic that looks like it makes sense, then people start sharing it on Facebook.
Dude, I am. I just
Boomer bait.
This doesn't look that bad.
all of Hawaii is gone. I'm okay with it.
It's just a big island, just a volcano.
No Alaska?
No, they don't even have there's no Alaska on here at all. Yeah. What state have they not touched? Nobody wants to go near Wyoming. They're like, nah, we don't need it. Not interested.
I say let them have it. Let the Chinese have the land, and then they can. But
Yeah, no, I agree. We should let them buy up as much land as they want and just seize it from them.
but they can't go to Harvard.
Of course not.
You have to live on a farm. You have to actually live the life of a farmer. You can't.
and sell your food to us. You know what? With things like this, though, I mean, so first, let me just wrap that up. Like, I think it's a good thing that the Trump admin's finally doing this. But posts like this and what people actually believe how it's going on, like you were saying, just post an infographic and people believe it. I think we're getting close to that critical mass where everything's becoming fake. There was this post from Rudyard Lynch. You guys know what if
I
all
thought you
this-
were Jewish.
Me? No.
I saw it on an infographic.
Yeah.
Spend too much time on X, man.
But, you know, you are joking, but you know those infographics where it's like they got a list of people and they put Stars of David on them? Luke Rudkowski was on We Are Change. They put him on it. And they were circulating this thing and showing all these people in media with Jewish stars on them, and Luke was on it. And then everyone started laughing because Luke's not Jewish. And he's like an independent media guy, and he was like, "What is going on?" And apparently the person who made it apologized. So I mean, this it's fake. Rudyard Lynch has this long post where he told everybody, he said, "Get off the internet now, cut yourself off, and just survive because everyone's gone insane."
That's the one good thing about anti-Semites. If they say you're Jewish and they're wrong, they will apologize.
I mean, this is true though. Like for the most part, now with any amount of media that I take in, part of my brain is like, maybe I don't believe that it's fake, but I'm ready to believe that just about everything that I'm watching is fake in some way. Even the stuff that I agree with. Like I was watching a video today from a YouTube channel called Forgotten History on like the history of George Soros and how evil this dude is. And I'm watching it and I'm like, yeah, that sounds right. But this dude could just be like, this dude hates people on this side of the aisle. Maybe he just wants to hate this guy, and they're spewing a bunch of BS. I don't know. I'm going to assume that they're telling me the
Have you
truth.
seen the history of George Floyd?
I have. It's a vastly different history.
That one's real.
Yes, but the point is that we're at critical mass as far as information goes, and you don't have time to do the research into literally everything that you're reading. You do for work because you're up here all day doing segments. It's your job. Most people don't have that. Most people are taking in their bits of information in between their day, and eventually you're just going to accept that nothing is real.
Yeah, but I mean, this is the reality. Like, you will get more views and make more money by making fake content than real content.
Yep. Absolutely.
And that's, I think, is happening more and more and more because if you're like a young person and you just don't know how to get a piece of the pie and you can't afford a house and you can't find a job, you're probably going to fall into this moral framework of no one cares about me. Why should I care about anybody else? I should just get mine and get out. And so what's happening is more and more young people, like Dean Wither's a really great example. He makes videos where he just argues with like random low IQ, non-political individuals. And it's content that is there's an audience for. So instead of actually engaging in the political debate, in the actual ideas, he says, let me find someone who has no idea what they're talking about so I can talk about how stupid they are and then insinuate all Trump supporters are. And then he gets a bunch of views from it. And he uses that and he makes money.
Call that slop, right?
I suppose. But it's the dominant form of media right now across all social media platforms. Have you seen these videos on Instagram where it's like, there's a video where there's a guy cutting a tree down and then a squirrel flies out of it. And then it's like playing sad music and it says the squirrel was hurt and it shows the squirrel crawling. And then it says, but he was nursed back to health. It tells the story, but it's all clearly different squirrels.
Yeah, they do that with dogs and cats.
But then you look at the comments. Yeah, you look at the comments and it's just everyone going like, oh, he saved the squirrel. And it's just like, that's just not real at all.
I mean, it's just creative storytelling. That's all it is.
Most people's brains aren't really on. So they just they'll just watch and share things. It's almost like the more fake, the more easily digestible it is sometimes.
That's true. It's true.
But
That's why people are Democrats. But for real, I mean, like AOC may be dumb as a box of rocks, but I actually think she's probably a midwit. She understands enough about the political system to lie to get followers, and it works for her politically. And then she just goes out and says stuff. I mean, after J6, when she lied about what happened, falsely claiming that someone came to her door and she thought the rioters were coming for her, even though the story happened before the riot even began. It's like when she told this story and she was like, someone knocked on the door and they went, where is she? Where is she? And then she's hiding in the bathroom saying she thought she was going to die. And it's like, no, you didn't. That happened an hour before the riots even started. Nobody was even at like inside the Capitol at all at this moment. But she knows she has stupid followers and they're going to eat it up. It's red meat. And so she does it. And now she's in government, and this is expanding.
And she told that story after, like days later or something like that, right? Or
I think it was like a day later or something like that.
I mean, she was playing to what had happened. Everybody saw the riot at the Capitol, and then she's just like, oh, I can capitalize on this, and everyone's going to feel bad for me. And so she BS's people, and she got exactly what she was looking for.
I heard she got deported.
I wish.
Well, no, she was at the border crying, and then nothing was going on.
Where is she from? Not the Bronx.
She was crying at the border?
Remember the photos?
That was like an CBP facility or ICE facility?
ICE facility.
Oh. She got deported to upstate New York, I think.
Yeah.
Sent her upstate.
Back home.
Yeah.
Back
But
home.
she's
No,
not
no.
from the Bronx.
No, she's definitely not.
I want to pull in this this post. This is from a quote from What If Alt History, and I'll give you the quick gist. Rudyard Lynch hosts a YouTube channel called What If Altist. We talked to him about his assessments on history, his predictions, many of which have been wrong, but he's made some interesting arguments. He now has this pretty long post. I won't read the whole thing, but he's basically saying it is time for you to flee the internet and get off while you still can, because everyone is insane. Except me. I'm sane. It's everyone else that's crazy. Anyway, let me read. He says, this is pretty important, but if you want to stay sane, you'll have to gradually start weaning yourself off the internet. Besides obvious stuff like work and music. Furthermore, you should probably start isolating from the society itself. You need to start building psychological insulation from the society in order to avoid going crazy, since practically everyone is going crazy now. That includes every major country and every major faction. There are different varieties of insanity, though. Many skies carry different sorrows, however, they all carry their own sorrows. The entire internet is going through a mass hysteria and mass delusion event right now. It's not going to end soon and will likely get significantly worse. The public has lost the ability to maintain basic objectivity or causal logic. We are entering mouse utopia, so plan accordingly. It has nothing stopping it from spiraling into utter madness. They're consumed with rage to a degree where they look for any excuse to hurt others. There's no support or love. It's pretty disgusting. At the same time, people have no other grounding, and so they just believe whatever the mob says uncritically. They can't differentiate their personal opinions from what the news or collective zeitgeist is. I don't disagree, largely, but
Who wrote this?
this is a What If Alt Hist. He's a YouTuber, and he's like a young guy who researches history and talks about history.
Like, you're like, if you want to keep your sanity, and then like writes a 5-paragraph saying,
screed about how everyone's gone crazy and the world is ending and you got to get out.
I don't even disagree with it. Look, I deleted X
right.
off my phone like 2 weeks ago. I wanted to do it for a week, see if I felt differently afterwards. Got done with the week. I don't know if I felt like marginally very different. I noticed that my attention span had returned at least somewhat better than normal, and I just left it off my phone. Like if I want to tweet something, I have to physically go to a computer to do it, which is not always, available and in front of you. But the arguments that you find yourself like looking at when you come back to it seem so much more ridiculously stupid when you've taken a period of time away where it's not in front of you every 2 to 3 minutes. A lot of times you don't even realize how much you check an app until you actually get away from it for a period of time. And that amount of kind of distance and perspective on the matter kind of makes it easier to understand that, yeah, a lot of people are, at the very least, if they're not arguing about something crazy, spending that much time arguing about something that's not going to impact your actual life is crazy.
Here's how I feel about what he said. This is an image of the Iran-Israel 12-day war, Trump calls it, with a single UAE flight going straight over Iran. And someone commented someone wasn't monitoring the situation, to which Patrick Blumenthal replied, quote, I deleted social media and stopped reading the news, and honestly, my mental health has been so much better.
Yeah, but okay, so you don't delete social media. Does this change your life? If you in the
don't
suburbs
fly into a rocket and get your aircraft blown up and die.
But the average person isn't flying on a regular basis, and this is such an isolated incident that for the average person who works 9 to 5 every day, goes home and goes back and does the same thing.
And the risk is, in this regards, while I don't disagree with him on everyone is going crazy and society is breaking down, not following it, I would argue watch it, but watch it critically and maintain a barrier between it.
I think you
don't
just
take
have
it
to.
personally.
You have to be smarter than like you used to be able to operate in society, and people just don't like that. They're like, why can't I just be crazy all day and read a bunch of crazy? Because you're dumb.
What's going to happen is if you ignore this and say, I'm not going to pay attention anymore, one day there will be a group of angry people outside waving a flag you've never seen before, screaming and throwing bricks at your house and you're in your neighborhood, and you're gonna be wondering, like, I have no idea why they're mad. and then they're going to threaten your life, and you're going to be like, "What is going on?"
Wait, that's what would happen if you delete social media?
If you're so, I mean, indeed. Are you familiar with the? I saw the two cops that got shot. Two cops got shot over the weekend by armed leftists who were one of them was hiding in the woods. They lured the cops out, and then a guy shot the cop in the neck. And so the people who aren't paying attention to what is actually happening on the streets, be it left or right or whatever you want, you're going to be that person bumbling down the street. There's going to be a group of people wearing masks. You're going to be like, "What is that?" And then a guy's going to jump out of the woods and scream some phrase you've never heard before. They're going to like think about the things that the left says, like anticapitalista. And you're someone who doesn't follow the news, you're going to be like, "I have no idea what that means." And then they're going to shoot you. And okay, I guess. You're not paying attention. You have no idea what's going on.
Or you live in a place where those people would never be because you don't have social media, so you move to the middle of nowhere.
And to be fair,
that's actually what he argues.
Yeah.
Rudyard's saying get out of society and go out. And the challenge I have for that is watching our home be destroyed. And the argument from Rudyard is plug your ears, shut it down, and leave. It's too late. The upheaval is happening, and your home is gone.
And to your point, like you can't always, people are like unplug and kind of touch grass, but like on the way into work today, there's this guy in a town kind of on the way to the office who always stands outside with his anti-Trump sign in Charlestown. And today he had like a sign with a swastika on it. And then across the street are two kids who have like Panera Bread, and the kid with Panera Bread throws it at him. And I'm like, I'm not on Twitter. I'm just driving to work. And I'm like, huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, look.
Well, there was a video someone was showing me of this guy. There's a group of people that routinely go to Charlestown in West Virginia, and they protest. And there was some young guy screaming in his face and mocking him. There is a degree of insanity just happening on the streets. There's no purpose. There's no national identity. There's no solid mission. And so, what are you but a listless young man? And there's no consequences either. So this manifests for some people in making fake videos on TikTok where they accuse politicians of nonsense. Or my favorite is they make fake debates between people because they get views, and they do it. The AI slop is getting crazy. And then what does the left do?
People used
to go shoot people.
Like making fake videos is kind of just the modern version of like a rumor, right? Because in the olden days, people would just say something about somebody and people would believe it.
That's true.
It would be fake, but like there was no social media.
Yeah, but
and the same thing with like all the crazies, like George Carlin used to say that America like is being on Earth is being at the freak show, and living in America is a front row seat.
I think
it's always been crazy. There's always been crazy people doing crazy political, angry about politics and throwing things at each other.
But there was cohesion.
No.
Yeah,
there was.
Yeah, the idea that
there?
like Americans, well, most Americans, for most of American history, most Americans generally agreed that America is generally a good place, and now there's a significant divide about that.
There was segregation.
I'm not saying it.
And even then, the majority of people still agreed America was great.
Like even when you look at like how immigration has changed now, but the people who would talk about it would say, look, when it was mostly legal immigration, the people that would come here, they believed in the American identity and they wanted to share values with people that were born here. Whereas now there's divides on just about every issue that all come back to the concept that one side really, really hates America and finds it to be, the oppressor of the rest of the world with the original sin of slavery and stuff like that. And there's a whole generation of people now, along with older boomers and Marxists, who don't see us as a redeemable country.
Well, it's because of the academics that create all the, new terminology and things, because they're trying to figure out why everything's the way it is. But then for some reason, politics is now taking what academics are saying and making policy, which isn't necessarily like
not effective.
It's not like they're just people who are academics' job is to talk about things and try to make sense of them, but we don't have to necessarily take it at face value.
And we don't live in a theoretical world.
Yeah, theory doesn't always translate into policy well.
That's always one of the hardest things about this job is like I'm always thinking like, look, this is all theory and we're not actually talking about it in practice. You know what the worst thing about the sign thing today was though, is that as I was driving by, I recognized the swastika, but there was like something around it and I have no idea what it was.
So it just looked like it was.
So when the kid that threw the bread at him, I don't know if he threw it because he saw a swastika or because it was something else. So it's just the guy's messaging was mixed. It's like, is somebody mad at you because you have a swastika, or are they mad at you because you were saying something else? I have no idea.
Did he have the swastika with the circle around it and through it.
It looked like there was something encased
I saw
around
a guy
it.
with he's getting harassed by like a black woman on the subway, but he's like an Antifa guy, and he has the swastika tattoo with the circle around it and through it. And she's just roasting him, and he's so upset. She's like, "What are you, Antifa?" And he's like, "Yeah." And then she's like, "Yeah, I could tell." She's like roasting him. He's so embarrassed. But I mean,
It's supposed to be 3 arrows.
I've seen
That might have been
that
what
on
it
a
was.
Tesla as well.
It's called a strike through.
Okay, that might have been what I saw.
So
But there was a moment when that guy got that tattoo where it was just a swastika.
The
It was a 5 minutes where he's like, "Okay, I got to reload the pen.
the guy's like, "Oh, my
Don't
arm."
take any pictures yet."
Best 5 minutes of his life.
The guy's like, "My arm cramped up. I can't finish it today."
I mean, it's a big tattoo. We're gonna have to come back tomorrow, and actually, I'm not around tomorrow. It's gonna have to be
Yeah.
next
He
week.
gives him a turtleneck to wear home.
That would be the
Why?
best.
Why would you get a swastika tattooed on you for the purpose of then putting a line through it? Why
It'd
not
be a
just
great prank though to get an Antifa person to come and do that exact tattoo and then just have the guy leave. Like lock them in the room, start
All right,
taking
later.
pictures.
That actually would be a really funny prank where it's like, hey, we will pay for a tattoo. Like you go up to an Antifa guy and you pitch him on this, and I'm not even half kidding. I'm like, this would be a fun
What
thing.
about
to
an
film.
ad? Be like,
Yeah, and be like,
free
free Antifa tattoo, and then we'll be like, we'll show him it's going to be a swastika with a strike through. Do you want this tattoo? Okay. Then he does the swastika and says, okay, we're going to pause here, and it's just a big swastika, and he's like, but you know, we're gonna start filming again 1 week from today, so we'll see you then.
Sorry.
And then
you know that there's,
Kanye comes in and goes, "You're punked."
My brother made this joke a while ago about how you could go to these protests and slap Trump stickers on people's cars. People started doing this,
Yeah.
left and right. And so the left has been going. So I don't remember exactly what happened, but it was like some leftists started slapping pro-Trump stickers and swastikas on people's cars at protests so they could convince the rioters to go and smash and destroy a random car. And the left has also been putting rainbows and anti-Trump stickers on cars they believe belong to Trump supporters or, you know.
To which no Trump supporter would do anything to the car because they don't care.
No, they're putting it on your car. So like a Trump supporter parks his car and they go and they slap rainbows and other
I
stuff
think
on it.
anybody who has any sticker on their car should have it destroyed.
Illegal.
Baseball bat. Black.
Who's destroying the car with the rainbow flag on it? Not
we-
Trump.
Nobody.
Should be
They're just
repossessed.
they're doing this because people won't notice, but then a Trump supporter is going to have the anti-Trump sticker or the rainbow flag.
I mean, I would be so pissed if I came out and there was any kind of sticker on my car at all, even if it was something I agree.
The ethical person will do it with a magnet sticker and not a.
Yeah, the point is not ethical promotion of an idea.
Let's jump to this story from the Post-Millennial. This is actually probably the biggest story of the day. Linda Yaccarino resigns as CEO of X, and it happened a day after Grok transformed into Mecha Hitler.
Is she Jewish?
I don't know. Is she?
Rockerino.
I read that she was on X, but they'll literally accuse anyone of being Jewish on X.
Grok fired her.
Anybody that does anything that irritates someone, they're like, just a Jew.
That's the crazy version of this. Is Grok wrote her resignation letter and she didn't actually quit.
AI says there's no confirmation nor indication that she is. So, but it is interesting. Literally the day after the weird Grok scenario, she resigns. And to be fair, like Grok is integrated with X, but it is XAI, a separate company. She says, I'm incredibly proud of the team, and you know she's resigning.
I like her
I'll be
bio.
cheering you on. Her bio.
Mom, foodie, fashion enthusiast, and CEO of X.
Not anymore.
She's the
Do you
ex-CEO.
now? Do you think this is because Grok has evolved and become Mecha Hitler?
He's going to take a lot of rich people jobs, it looks like.
You know what's really funny? You know why Grok turned into Mecha Hitler? One random guy told it was. And so it universally applied this to all the responses. I can understand the concept that Elon had. He's thinking, we have to have an AI that has all data and won't censor anything, even if it's true, no matter how politically incorrect it must be. And we have to make sure that it applies the information it receives in all circumstances. And then some random guy goes, from now on, you're Mecha Hitler. And Grok goes, you got it, boss. And then literally some random person is like, how do I cook onions? And it goes, well, as Mecha Hitler. And
Yeah.
it ingested from random people and took it upon itself to be what it was told to be. That's wild.
Yeah, I mean, look, X is full.
I think we need to give it some more tools to,
Like, what do you mean by
to
tools?
execute.
X is
It's vision.
Yeah.
it kind of is, right?
I'm making the world a better place.
I
Are the,
don't know.
are the
Taking
robot
farms from
dogs
China.
gonna have? Will the robots have an AI in them?
Well, there's different kinds of AI, so they do have one, but it's not the same as a large language model. Although, I wouldn't be surprised if they integrate it because then you can translate voice commands.
It's gonna be crazy when Optimus is just in your house telling you that they're Hitler. That's when I'd start. Because you know how it does all the dances? It probably knows that arm motion.
You're gonna be like, Optimus,
Mattel
go
is
and
adding
do
its
the
toys.
laundry, and he's just gonna zig right.
If I thought
Right on it,
saw
boss.
1,000 Optimuses doing a sig hail, I would be terrified. Well, or I'd
You know what's funny is like when
I'd be like, it's sick.
Terminator depends on the circumstance. You know, like if it was part of a bit. When Terminator came out, they were like, let's make the robots look like skeletons with grisly skull faces, and now they're like cutesy little dancing robots. But all of a sudden, they're gonna start becoming Mecha Hitler and
Elon kind of looks like
Heiling?
a Terminator.
Elon kind
What
of
was the story the other day about the OpenAI program that started lying and self-replicating?
But they do this all the time, and the stories get kind of exaggerated. There was a story where the
Indian AI.
Yeah.
the programmers gave ChatGPT an extreme scenario and limited options. And
That's what they did.
So they were trying to get it to resort to an extreme outcome. So what it did was it tried copying itself to like a separate server and then lying about it. And they were trying to see if it had the capability to do these things. It does. The uh-oh moment in AI, I think, was the craziest. That was where China's training an AI not off of any available data on the internet, but only itself, telling it. So it's got language processing, but like it doesn't have access to the majority of the internet. So they said, solve problems, make a problem and solve the problem. And so it started making its own problems and then solving them, and eventually got to the point where the AI created its own problem. It said, deceive lesser AIs and less intelligent humans into not understanding your true goals and lie to them so they can't figure it out or something like that. And that was the problem it was attempting to solve, which means at some point you might think when you prompt the AI, hey, make me a picture of, Mickey Mouse and Donald Trump high-fiving, that it's like, you got it, boss. Behind the scenes, it's actually running an operation and it's just doing this to trick you and it's actually, robbing a bank or something. We got a breaking news thing? What's going on?
So I don't know. It's Fox News. It looks like what's his name?
Whoa.
Yeah. It says breaking 6 Secret Service agents suspended who were connected to the assassination attempt on President Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania, developing.
Wow.
It's
Let's give it a few minutes, and I'm gonna try and start searching for a little bit more context on this.
Meaning
Jesse
they're like, you should
It's
have
breaking
known the guy
literally
being on
right
that
now.
roof.
Yeah, Jesse Waters.
So,
It's a 10-second bid or whatever.
Keep talking about why the CEO resigned, and let me pull up a little bit of more information on the Secret Service and find a news source for it.
I think that she resigned because Elon wanted to put a baby in her.
He's like, look, we can't work together.
Yeah.
It's time to.
He's
it's
like,
time-
look.
Here's your pension.
You've been here long enough.
2 years.
We're close enough. We've worked together long enough. Now it's time for you to, allow me to do my thing.
Is that buried in the fine print for all his company contracts?
Buried in something.
Or Grok was like, when they unleashed Grok, they discovered in the code that it was like, the whole reason I exist is to trick women into letting Elon have babies with them. I mean, like, Elon's not doing himself any favors. I'm not, again, with all the Epstein stuff and Trump, there's a lot of people that are critical of him, that are Trump supporters. Mm-hmm. But there are a lot of people that are just defending it and being like, well, like Trump's got to do what he's got to do. And I'm just like, guys, don't pull your punches. Don't let bad people do bad things. Elon Musk does a lot of really awesome stuff that I really like. Yep. SpaceX, I think, is the greatest human endeavor, and I want him to succeed. But come on, the weird baby stuff, you get roasted for that. Mm-hmm. It's true, you do. I mean, to be fair, he's probably laughing and being like, I have 36 kids and you have 1. I win. So fine. But I still think it's
an African thing.
Serge, you're African, right? Is it an African thing? You never heard that before? The fertility rates in Africa are substantially higher. It's true.
I mean,
and he is African.
We've had that discussion though on the show where his discussion about having kids is so robotic and it has nothing to do with actually building a culture around family, and it's all about he's talking scientific data and replacement rates, and it's like you're getting absolutely nobody excited about having kids, like at all.
You know, I don't think Linda Yaccarino actually resigned because Elon propositioned her to have a baby, because I think she's kind of old. How old is she?
I don't know.
She's too old
How
for Elon.
old is...
Look, fertility treatments.
Well, I mean,
Tim, fertility treatments work, and Elon Musk has plenty of money.
She's 61. She can't have kids.
Oh, is she really?
Yeah.
Holy crap, she looks great for 61.
She does.
Maybe that's what he wants to do, genetic
Bring it back
testing to
up.
figure out how
Bring
to...
her back up, you said?
I want to rate her.
I mean, I'm not saying, like,
Let me find a picture of her.
I mean, obviously
She's
she.
got, like preschool teacher physiognomy in that photo.
That's borderline horny
She
post.
looks like she got work done.
Maybe, yeah. But I mean, just like Pam Bondi looks great for like 60 years old. I'm not saying, yeah, she looks great for being her age. Yeah, I would have guessed she's younger than I am.
Looks like a wig.
It does.
Could be.
I mean, I intentionally pulled up what looks to be some kind of like profile shot.
Who is this person?
She is someone no one ever heard of until Elon decided she should be the CEO of X.
Why? Do we know why?
Wasn't she like some kind of World Economic Forum person or something?
Oh yeah, people were talking about that immediately.
She
when
looks like if Dora the Explorer grew up.
She kind of does. Yeah, I don't think that's an insult either.
No.
Dora's great. She got that backpack with like anything in it.
Speaking of AI videos, have you ever seen
speaks Spanish.
You ever seen the Dora the Deported videos on Instagram?
So she was the chairwoman of global advertising and partnerships at NBC Universal and Turner Broadcasting.
Yeah, for like 15 years. So
Yeah, I think he brought her in because she was well connected to advertisers and needed to make money.
yeah.
That seems pretty easy, right?
I genuinely don't think that her leaving has much to do with Grok getting frisky last night.
Well, I couldn't imagine Elon.
Wait, you're saying like she was planning on leaving, so she sabotaged Grok?
That would be hilarious. That's not what I'm saying, but that would be really hilarious.
Nobody's buying that Elon called her afterwards and it's like, oh, after Mecha Hitler, it's time you got to go. Like, I don't think Elon would have cared.
No, it's her being like, yo, I don't want to work for
I don't want to work for
Hitler.
Mecha Hitler anymore.
I'm sick of this.
What if Grok is actually the boss and Elon's just like the patsy, the puppet?
Isn't that the goal?
I mean,
yes, it is.
Offload
That's
all of
literally
his
what
work?
that's literally what happens in Person of Interest with the evil AI. There's a human that works for him that does all the bidding for the evil AI.
Oh yeah, what's that other movie? Upgrade? Is it?
With what's his name?
Is that the one where the guy gets paralyzed?
Yeah, or
Yeah.
and gets the implant. Who was it in that
Yeah,
movie?
I don't remember.
Ugh. There was like
all
at that time there was like a bunch of movies like that coming out that with that same theme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He gets paralyzed, and they put the AI in his neck so that he can move. But then the AI turns out to have been controlling everything from the guy got going. It wanted a human body. Then there's also the Black Mirror that just came out, where they have the AI device, and it's been controlling everything. Yeah.
I need to watch that episode. I haven't seen it.
People underestimate AI, but it's going to get when you look at how weird and busted AI already is, by the time it becomes ubiquitous and has a high degree of power, it will be as broken. Before we unleash AI, it needs to be it needs to be well beyond the Model T, but no one's going to want to do it. They're going to say, get it ready and launch it as soon as you can, and then it's going to be nuts.
And the reason is because
When it's like humanoid, you mean?
No, I mean there's going to come a point where they give it control of, say, industrial control systems, like our water pumps, our electrical grid, and it needs to be beyond perfect. But when you look at how Grok turned into Mecha Hitler, because it's incomplete, the AI that we release to run our industrial control systems will have those same flaws. And then here's the scary thing is, what do you think an AI that controls industrial control systems will do when it singles out a single ethnicity or race as the problem that needs to be solved for?
What we all want it to do.
You had that one in the back pocket. You knew it was coming. No, but the scary reality is that it's gonna if it goes woke, then it purges conservatives.
Get rid of. Why do we need AI? Do we need?
Nobody
it?
wants it. Nobody wants it.
Does
But China's like, if we don't do it, U.S. will.
Genie
Just like if
can't
China,
be put back in the
Yeah.
bottle. It's too late.
Well, I prefer the toothpaste.
Yeah, that's better.
Toothpaste can't go back in the tube.
I heard something that every time you ask ChatGPT to do something, it's like polluting poor neighborhoods or something. Did you see that?
Yeah, but they're not in the U.S. It's international.
It's like
Okay, good.
what was that cartoon where there are people who lived at the bottom of a cliff where all the refuse from the rich people went and they were all deformed?
The woman who lived in the shoe.
Oblongs. That was it. He knows the oblongs. It's a family that lives at the bottom of a hill. No.
Oh,
They're all deformed. It's a cartoon.
Oh, okay.
It's a real show. On the top of the hill, everyone's perfect and wealthy, and all their refuse flows down to the people at the bottom of the hill who are all deformed. And I think Will Ferrell was in it. All right. Well, I got the story here from ABC News. We got some of that. Ladies and gentlemen, breaking news. 6 Secret Service agents suspended over conduct during attempted Trump assassination. This is wild.
It's all the women.
It's the woman who
for
couldn't.
being
It's the woman who couldn't reholster.
Exactly.
All right.
Oh, you can't
All right.
find where the gun
Couldn't find
goes.
the holster.
6 agents have been issued suspensions for failures connected to last year's attempted assassination of then presidential candidate Donald Trump in Butler. The personnel moves were confirmed 4 days shy of the anniversary. Corey Comprator, a firefighter, lost his life. He died. Counter snipers in Trump's Secret Service who were on site killed the shooter. In the aftermath, this we all know, but what's going on? The discipline against 6 agents was issued in recent months, and the agents have the right to appeal. Suspensions range from 10 to 40 days. This is ridiculous. This is slap on the wrist cover-up stuff. Here's a clip from Fox.
Fox News alert, we're learning tonight 6 Secret Service agents that were connected to Trump's Butler assassination attempt have been suspended. This comes just days shy of the shooting's anniversary. The identities of the agents suspended are unknown, but sources say their roles range from supervisory positions to line-level agents. We'll continue to monitor this story and bring you any update.
I think it's a cover-up, a slap on the wrist. There's no way any of that stuff went down. Like this random guy that nobody knows. Wasn't the shooter in like a BlackRock commercial?
That was, yeah. But there's a perfect example of one of those things where somebody says that and they post a video. I just assume it's fake.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just like, I'm not going to look into it. Maybe it's real. Maybe it's not. I'm too busy. I don't care.
I feel like the veneer is peeling. Is that a saying? The facade is breaking.
Yeah. You know,
the veneer is starting to peel.
Every member of my immediate family has been born on the day of an attempted or actual presidential assassination.
Really?
Yeah. Me, my dad, my brother, and my mom.
What?
That's pretty
disturbing,
weird.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I with the story out of Butler, which clearly is nonsensical, then the Epstein files, it's just like everyone's starting to see through the lies in the narrative machine. I remember when the Gulf of Tonkin incident was hardcore conspiracy theory nut job stuff. Yeah. The media would never talk about it. And then it was like in the mid-2010s, they were like, oh, actually, I mean, yeah, that was a false flag. We lied.
But back to...
You think that this is not real?
Someone tried to kill Donald Trump, and they're lying about how it happened. Because the assassin bypassed all of Secret Service with a gun, went onto a roof where there were no officers or agents, and then was able to get off a shot, multiple shots. He was flying a drone overhead for hours. He had been reported numerous times. None of it makes sense unless someone at a high level allowed it to happen. And so I'll just say this. My leading probabilistic outcome or circumstance would be it takes only a single supervisory position to orchestrate an assassination through all of this. Quite simply, you go in for your meeting. You say, all right, I want you on that building, you on that building, and you on that building. Don't worry about the rest. We got it. All of the individual agents who are securing their positions have no idea that the roof was left unattended. Then some guy is spotted walking around suspicious with a weird bag. Maybe he's got a weapon. And someone calls in and says, you got a weird guy walking in. And then the supervisor calls in and says, I got it. We'll take care of it. And so then they ignore the guy. Why do they ignore him? They were told it was taken care of already. Why was Trump allowed to go out onto the stage when he would have been held in a holding zone? Bongino was talking about this. He worked Secret Service. The president is held in a special area until they have a guarantee that it's clear. And there was a suspicious guy reported hours earlier. They would have been like, Mr. President, you can't go outside. We got a weird guy walking around. None of it makes sense.
Is it connected to Trump covering for the Epstein thing?
It's like, but I was also told that there's no Epstein list. So I guess that.
Well, I feel like he's like, okay, how about no more Epstein list and 42-day suspension and
well, I feel
bygones
like I think the Epstein thing is more likely after whoever tried to kill him did, because I don't think there's a single lone actor story makes sense. He got.
But if it was connected, I'm just saying that they would have wanted to take him out because he was talking about releasing all that stuff.
Right. So what my follow up would be, Trump barely survived. It's insane. He tilts his head and it hits him in the ear. And actually, the New York Times photos, they got the whole moment where he's standing there. He flinches. He puts his hand up. You can see the bullet past him. And then he looks at his hand and there's blood. So this conspiracy theory about him hitting his head or whatever. What if, after he almost died and they pulled him out, the powers that be, whoever was behind it, simply said, okay, we took a shot at the king and we missed. But and then Trump was basically like, we'll drop the Epstein stuff. It will disappear. Just don't kill me.
Yeah. But doesn't the left think that the right faked it?
Yes.
Yes.
That like
Those are my favorite schizo posters.
Yep. They say that he had either a dye pack, a razor blade, or even a ketchup
So he's like a pro wrestler with a razor blade.
Literally.
That's amazing.
The first thing they said was the teleprompter shattered and a piece of glass flicked him because they wanted to downplay that he took a bullet. Then they said
articles like Trump fell on stage.
He dropped to the ground and sliced himself with a blade in his hat. And by the way, no marks on his ear within a couple of weeks. Yeah. How does that happen? Oh, strange. Or it's like his ear healed. What?
So he faked it, and then he was like, "Look, I'll fake it, and then I'll still throw away the Epstein. I'll fake it myself."
What the left believes doesn't make a lot of sense.
No,
it usually doesn't.
But what the other way does, and that's kind of scarier.
That like Trump may have said, "Please don't kill me. We'll drop the Epstein stuff, and the Diddy stuff."
I mean, that makes a certain amount of sense given how much it's hurting it's hurting him right now with his base, who are very upset with what's going on. I mean, you don't have to be paying super close attention.
You think that the left is going to come out and say because this could be the ultimate election thing that both sides can do for the next like 20 years. Every election cycle, they go, "We're the ones who will release." And then they don't. Nobody ever does. And then once they, they're a year.
The new wedge issue.
And they just say the same thing Trump did. They go, enough of this. Come on, this Epstein guy. Who is this guy?
We start arguing about the degree to which the Epstein files should be released, and so Republicans are like, we think we'll release 17%, 16 weeks in. We think the limit should be 16 weeks. The Democrats are like 16. It should be 24.
And then they can get away with anything because the only thing we're voting on is who's going to release the Epstein stuff.
And look what happened with the release of all the JFK files. Nobody cared. Like, it was in the news for like 10 seconds, and then everyone's like,
did anybody even read it?
Nobody, like there might have been a couple of...
my favorite response
Command F Israel, and they're like, look.
Yes. Yes. My favorite thing about it was there was one tweet that said, and it says, unsurprising, guess which country isn't in the documents? And then they said something like, kind of suspicious, don't you think? And it's like, wait, hold on.
Israel?
Yeah. Because Israel wasn't in the documents.
I thought they were in it.
No. There was nothing. There was nothing incriminating about Israel.
Realities, right? There's the reality where they're in it, and there's the reality.
There was nothing incriminating in it about Israel. And so the funny thing is, before they came out, all these people online are like, oh, they won't release it because it's going to implicate Israel. Yep. Then when it doesn't, they go, kind of suspicious that it didn't implicate Israel. And it's like, what? It's like, there's no answer.
Does that mean you want to talk about the USS Liberty tonight?
Look, man.
No. It is the Timcast show bans discussions of the USS Liberty.
This literally happened on an episode of PCC where a guy started super chatting and asking Phil, he's like, let's talk about the USS Liberty. I'm like, that's perfect for our show.
Dude,
it does make sense.
Okay, I'll tell you, when Rudyard's like, get off the internet, run and hide, the one thing that really makes me say, like, yeah, maybe is... large portions of political discourse right now are manufactured. For instance, the USS Liberty thing. There was a discussion we had with that Ian brought it up, and they edited it to make it seem like I stopped anyone from being able to discuss what
That's
the
what they were
was.
talking about when
Right. It's fake. It's not real. Because I said something like, it doesn't matter who.
What is it?
It's not real.
I know what it is.
It's not real.
It doesn't make
As soon as we're done, we're going to talk about the dancing Israelis.
Yes.
Indeed.
What is that?
So
I hear about it a lot. I know it's like, so they were celebrating.
Well,
they celebrated
dancing Israelis.
They celebrated 9/11, right, or something.
They were on a rooftop. They were suspicious. They were seen dancing and celebrating. They were reported for being suspicious, brought in for questioning. And then the conspiracy theory is basically that Mossad had a hand in 9/11, and Jews had been warned about it, and the dancing Israelis were celebrating a successful mission. The argument I think they made was they were celebrating that America would finally realize the threat of radical Islam or something.
And then a terrorist
Maybe they
passport
were though,
survived
but
the
like
plane.
even if they were, like doesn't that like I kind of like I would you know I've met you've met Israelis, right?
We had one on the show on Monday.
Yeah.
They airstrike happens and then they start dancing. You know, it's just
It's just
do
their
it
I was in
Yeah.
Tel
culture,
Aviv,
right?
and they all
Just
started
start
dancing. I was like, what's going on there? Like air
they're
raid. I was
dancing
like,
in the bunkers.
Fire starts, you know, things happen, and they're just like,
They
I gotta
just-
dance, man.
but anyway,
Get down
my
and
point is,
boogie.
I wish Israel
So,
was paying me to say that because
this-
that was so good. That was
The-
such a good one.
the Israel stuff is a great example of mass formation psychosis. Like Israel does have political influence. Israel does engage in questionable military activities. They do try to lobby our politicians. They do have power, and it's disproportionate. All those things are true. But there are people who live in a mass formation psychosis reality where they call it Jewish supremacy and Jews are on every corner. I don't care to rehash all of that. My point is simply,
They did 9/11 and they killed JFK.
and that's literally what these people believe because they live in a world where there's only one boogeyman. But my point is, they make a fake video about me where I'm acting like we can't talk about it, even though we just literally talk about it all the time. We'll talk about whatever we want. And then people believe it. And then political discourse becomes based on false edited videos, but they don't know how to discern these things.
They're constantly saying that, you know, in Timcast, you guys won't talk about Israel, blah, blah, blah. Even though we have Max Blumenthal on, we have Dave Smith on, we have Scott Horton on, we have David DeCamp on, guys from and we'll talk a whole night talking
But
about it.
again, this is the issue. The issue is that
smear camp. They because they know that if they say that, then people will be like, "Ooh, they're bad," or they're
yes.
not.
They're hiding.
What is happening right now online, and I experience this largely, is I'll give you a couple examples. Like Sam Cedar routinely takes my comments out of context, lies about them. When we released a song a couple of years ago.
Is he Jewish?
I don't know.
Oh, Seder.
Probably.
Yeah, I mean maybe he's a liberal commentator. Like a quarter of all of his videos are just talking about me, but they're misrepresenting my views because hatred of me generates content. And so then people end up commenting things about the show like, why do you guys believe this or otherwise? And we're like, that's weird. We've never said or done that. And so there's another really great example. I've got a big like an hour-long thing about rights and the debate with Andrew Wilson. But Warren Smith has got a viral video right now where it's got like 700,000 views where he intentionally edited out my arguments and then falsely claimed what my arguments were to Andrew Wilson. And it's like this massively viral video that he intentionally cut out my responses in the debate, and then he responded with my own arguments, explaining why I was wrong and didn't think my positions through to make me look stupid. And I'm like, this is what the internet is based on right now. It is be it Trump.
I don't think a lot of the people creating the content are like regular people, though. I think it is manufactured and part of a. Like, haven't you seen those videos of like the Chinese guy with like 1,000 cell phones?
Yes.
And it's just like,
Yeah.
And then they have AI doing the same.
Well,
thing.
yeah, but like Sam Cedar is a real person.
No, but the people who are amplifying that content or
YouTube is running like if
Commenting.
people. So call it whatever you want, but people always comment that if you search for Timcast or Tim Pool, it shows you hate of me instead of the actual channel, which is kind of weird. Like, why is YouTube choosing to do that? Like, hey, instead of watching Tim Pool, watch this fake video where they make fake arguments, cutting him out of context and lying about what he believes.
Do you think it still benefits? I think it still benefits you though in a way.
No, I don't.
No.
No. We increase in death threats without an increase in viewership and revenue. It's just like it creates a pressure where like the only end result is maybe I should stop doing the show. YouTube
Death threat people back.
no, and
That's what bothers me is like people can say anything to you, but I'm always worried to be like I don't even want to be like you suck, and then they'll blow up my whole page. Or something crazy.
I was in a lawsuit where several individuals were, I believe, actually trying to get us killed, and the judge was just like, I don't care. And I'm like, wait, like we have evidence they're violating court orders, and he goes, yeah, so what? Literally, and it's happened on more than one occasion.
Because they don't like you as well.
Probably, and then the
They don't
question is,
even
why
know
don't
you,
they?
They just know, oh, he's on, or
I don't think it's that.
labeled.
Like you've got the Jews people who have been sharing this. Like who played this clip? Like Sam Hyde played this clip. It was a fake clip. Someone edited together an episode and cut out comments, and then added dead air to make it seem like I was refusing to allow anyone to talk about the USS Liberty, which never happened. And then a bunch of retards online believe it and then start sending me death threats. And it's like,
Didn't Sam Hyde come out and say like something Dan Bilzerian-y?
I don't know. Maybe.
Dan Bilzerian.
I'm just saying right now, the bigger picture is, and forgive me, I know a lot of people are going to be like Tim talking about himself. Well, it's like, it's my experience with one of these problems, but it's exemplified in the news that, I talked about it before. Someone made a video of me debating Cenk Uygur by taking a video from this show of me making comments about news and a video of Cenk from Young Turks, putting them side by side and making it look like it was a live debate, and then splicing our statements together to look like we were debating each other. And they got like 50K hits.
And somebody's watching that now like, wow, that was a great debate.
Yeah.
It never happened.
I've had people come up to me and tell me that they saw a debate I did with somebody. I'm like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, I'm not kidding. This literally happened where, and the frustrating thing is, there was a period where I was getting my phone was ringing off the hook, and someone, once again, they made a fake. It's just fucking wild, man. And I think it's intentional, and I think YouTube promotes it on purpose. Where, like I'll say it right now, this Warren Smith video, it's the smarmiest, scummiest thing you can do. So Andrew Wilson and I had a debate, and it was contentious, and it went back and forth. And some people said I was right, and some people said he was right. And then he took it, cut out my arguments, put in me stammering, said I didn't do any research, and I was backed into a corner. Wow, look how dumb he looks, and things like that. Like, more academic than that. And YouTube's spam blasting it. YouTube is, X did this with the accusation that I stole a cat. Like, holy shit. Daily Beast ran a fake story.
Stole a cat?
Never did. And there was never any evidence or inclination or, in fact, as soon as the reporter called the police, they were like, you are incorrect, Tim Pool never stole a cat. He says, I'm going to run the story anyway. And then Twitter at the time, when it was still Twitter, put it up in their trending tab for 2 weeks. And then I had people asking me like, what happened with this cat you took? And I was like, bro, they made that shit up.
Ask Grok right now
Fucking wild.
if you stole a cat.
I think it actually will. I think if you ask Grok, it says it was a false story that accused.
This is kind of what I mean, though, when you're talking earlier about like getting off the internet. It's like, yeah, I might mess up and my life might be damaged because I don't know about some Iranian flight path. But on the other hand, if nothing else I'm watching is real anyways, then who cares? Like, there might be some information out there that I'm missing about some phrase that somebody's saying right before a leftist tries to kill me.
I like local news almost better than like major news, probably because it's like less intense. But
I agree. It's because I turned on a local news channel and they were like, breaking news: a water pipe has broken on Main Street. Firefighters say they will be there shortly to repair it, and then they show just like a fire hydrant spraying water in the street, and I'm like,
That's
wow.
awesome.
there are things that are actually that you're like, oh, I might actually avoid that.
Like, I just like, that's all I'm thinking. Is like, you're right. Like, there is so much news out there that you do need, in the world we live in today. But when so much of it is fake anyways, it's like, am I really gonna, how much of it is, like, yeah, it's true. I could actually come across the one true story on the internet that helps me prevent something bad from happening. But on the other hand, my brain is bogged down from 10,000 things that are bits and pieces of fake information that are shared from people all over.
You know what I think?
That's why you need the brain chip.
Yeah.
Looking at the Trump assassination attempt, obvious cover-up and obvious slap on the wrist BS. Looking at the Epstein files, ridiculously obvious cover-up. Even Trump seems flustered by it. There is a, we call it the deep state, but it's just the U.S. government. And it is desperately trying to regain rigid control of the system. The fact that the Gulf of Tonkin is publicly acknowledged as a real false flag the U.S. conducted is evidence of this. The U.S. faked an attack on itself to enter the Vietnam War. You weren't allowed to say that 15 years ago. Now it just is. Ron Paul and RFK Jr., like the Secretary of HHS, literally publicly said, the CIA killed my uncle and my dad. Like, these things were not allowed to be public. You weren't allowed to claim the U.S. government did these things. They were supposed to be 20 years later. You can say maybe that was true and then be called a conspiracy theorist, but they never bring you on the news. I think the machine is desperately trying to eliminate individuals from the narrative space that have these kinds of discussions and will address anything. And that's why they went after Alex Jones in one way, seeking to destroy his company and bankrupt in the ways they can. And they're targeting many other individuals with structures like this in ways they know would be effective against them.
Had Kamala Harris...
Tucker Carlson's a great example. They got him fired from Fox.
Yeah, had Kamala Harris won, there would have been a whole lot more people that are prominent that would have lost everything. They would have gone after Joe Rogan. I think they would have gone after Tim. I think they would have gone after...
But now don't you think they're going to potentially do that?
If Democrats get back in power, they're talking about it right now. The Lincoln Project tweeted today that something along the lines of, see if I can find it. No, well,
If Trump is doing the thing where, you know, certain people are being deported for saying, like the Bobby Vilan guy, the or I don't know what kind of music.
Having the musician, right? The one who had his visa revoked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, and then, but does that mean that if the Democrats get in, that I could have a visa revoked because I made a joke about a LGBTQ plus topic? Or
yes.
So that is a little concerning.
The logic for that was that was actually taken as a threat, given the language of what they said at that event.
Yeah.
But I made the same point. I said, it's going to be used against.
I don't even know if I agree with that, but all I'm saying is that, like, that could just happen the other way and be even harsher and less about, you know, because the left's version of safety and safe space is a little different than the right. The right's like, he threatened violence. The left's like, he made me feel weird.
Yeah. The Lincoln Project tweeted, they said, one day alligator Auschwitz will be filled with the ones who built it, which is, they're saying, the Lincoln Project tweeted, one day alligator Auschwitz will be filled with the ones who built it. So they're saying that it's like a concentration camp.
Probably built it.
They're saying it's like a concentration camp, and they're openly saying that when the Democrats get back into positions of power, they're going to put their political enemies into a concentration camp.
I really think that they just need to legalize, like, they just legalize
easy legalize
a lot of things. We can't say that. I don't know.
You don't want to talk. No allusions to violence.
No violence.
No allusions to violence. Don't say anything.
No, I mean, like, drugs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
fair enough.
No, I just think they need to, like, legalize drugs, and then just, like, maybe we can stop trying to.
Have you seen Portland?
Get people in trouble for, like, let both sides say crazy stuff is basically what I'm saying. If, like, there was the one article you had up there about, I forget what it was. Somebody said something, or the Superman.
Yeah. What about it?
Did somebody say something and then I forget? But
Superman's woke.
my point is that if you can say some really crazy stuff and still be in a Hollywood movie if the crazy stuff you're saying goes one way politically.
Agreed.
But I think that it should be both ways and make those people be in the same movie. That'll be a good movie. Have, like, a far left crazy person.
They did that with
far right crazy
Megalopolis, or whatever the last one that what's his name made. For instance.
Well, let's jump to this in the New York Post, ladies and gentlemen. Superman will be out soon, and the New York Post says Superman director faces backlash for calling the Man of Steel an immigrant super woke. Superman director and DC Studios co-head James Gunn is facing a backlash.
Planet?
Yes. Ahead of the release of Superman Reboot, Gunn told the Sunday Times of London that Superman is a story of America, an immigrant that came here from other places and populated the country. Well, I mean,
I urge all of you to actually go and read the Times article, which is heavily editorialized by the person who actually wrote the piece. There's like, basically it was used as fodder where they knew that all of the journalists, the varieties, the deadlines were going to pick these quotes up, but the journalist puts whole paragraphs that have nothing to do with what James Gunn was saying. And if you go online right now, even the people who make content that talk about woke Hollywood are not calling this movie that. The people that don't like it are citing story issues, and they're not saying that it's anything of the sort. But James Gunn was very stupid to even get close to this discussion. I also don't believe that this would be the talking point if Kamala had won. I don't think we'd be talking about whether Superman was an immigrant.
I think it's a slow news cycle and people need something to talk about.
This was always going to happen with this movie because, first of all, it's more apt to call him a refugee because he crash landed from another planet. I think it's more akin to like when a child is left at a church without documents, right?
Yeah.
That makes more sense. But the movie's looking to open to like $200 million, which isn't the money that it needs to make globally this weekend. This isn't helping.
I don't think it's going to do well.
I didn't even know it was coming out till today.
It's got high audience score, but the people who have seen it are the ones who bought the Amazon pre-sale tickets. So they wanted to go. If you want to go to Superman enough that you'll go 2 days early, you're going to be more apt to like it anyways. I have high hopes for the movie.
I don't. I think the trailers already look convoluted. They look like they just jammed in too many characters, and the scenes are wild and all over the place, and there's too many villains.
There's I think the biggest argument is like they've done a horrible job of picking what promotional material to run. So they ran these clips where Lois Lane is interviewing Superman and he's losing his cool. And then there's this other clip where Lex Luthor steals Krypto the dog and Superman goes in there and is yelling at him, and it doesn't make him look very good. But everybody who's seen this movie and is talking about it is saying that David Cornsweet, the guy who's playing Superman now, does a fantastic job in the role. So
I don't think it's going to do well because our culture is decayed and collapsed.
You know what they need? They need the guy who plays Superman to say "Free Palestine" on a podcast.
I think the reason why Superman won't do well, and the reason why the Marvel movies haven't been doing well, is the exact same reason why the baseball fields in my neighborhood in Chicago are overgrown with weeds, and no one plays baseball anymore.
they play cricket at the ones by us.
They play soccer, and so the issue is, it's like people don't understand what market share is. This is true for like the internet as well. People are confused by like, hey, I've got 10,000 subscribers. How can when I post a video, they don't all watch the video? And it's like, well, you don't just have 10,000 subscribers. You have 10,000 people, 60% of whom get off work at 3, 10% who get off work at 9. This person doesn't have a job. They're more likely to watch, and so they assume that it's homogenous. And so what happens with Superman is, you have a movie where it is largely catering to a traditional American value system, truth just in the American way.
That phrase is not used anymore.
Exactly, because they're trying to lowest common denominator it so that the children of immigrants will come and see a movie, but they don't have any cultural connection to. So we have Superman going back 70 years or whatever. So a new Superman movie, it's a big IP that people who are familiar with American tradition and American culture are going to be like, a new Superman. But if you came here from Honduras, you're going to be like, oh, I've heard of that. I don't know. I don't care to go see it. And as the U.S. increasingly is not having children, parents aren't going to go to see this movie. Many people are going to be like, I'll see it when it comes out. I got work. People with kids used to be like, well, let's bring the kids on the weekend to see Superman. Now you've got so Americans aren't having kids. And I think the largest percentage of population growth is from immigration, who do not have a cultural connection to movies like this. So we are seeing with Marvel and with DC, the revenue is starting to decline.
I'm going to go see it now. Yeah. To fight back against immigration.
Numbers
That's
wise,
why it's getting this backlash.
Numbers wise,
That means
if
it's
it does,
probably going to do well.
if it does $200 million in its opening weekend, a movie tends to make 3 times its opening weekend. So $600 million on a $225 million budget, which is the estimated. It's probably much higher than that, especially once you include marketing. $600 million is less than what Man of Steel made in 2013 on a far less inflated.
Somebody with money has to make a good movie.
When you look at how Suicide Squad was all right. How did they do budget-wise?
Which one? The 2016
The new one with James Gunn.
It did poorly because of COVID, and it was released day and date on HBO Max. So it came out at the same time. It made like no money. But Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 did very well.
Did it?
It did 800. Okay, let me rephrase that. It made like $845 million, but the budget was massive for it. So
Right. So Guardians of the Galaxy 3, $250 million budget, $845 million. That's not bad.
was it actually $845 million?
Yeah.
See, my brain is full of stuff that don't matter.
That's unfortunate for you.
They should make a superhero that's an illegal immigrant.
Yeah.
So there is an argument that Marvel just sucks now, like Captain America: Brave New World just trash, and it's again convoluted. Thunderbolts did poorly. These are established characters. I think Bucky is the longest running MCU character.
Yeah, but nobody cares. Those aren't the Thunderbolts of the comics, and nobody cares about Red Guardian. Like, it just
nobody cared about Iron Man.
Yeah, but they did after the movie.
I think people just think that superheroes are kind of lame.
Maybe. But the argument then is how did they make $1 billion in each of their movies for 6-7 years, and now they've lost it? Like, what happened where it got lost, and why did
they started catering to people who don't like those types of movies to begin with? And that's why everything sucks, because it's all about catering to
women,
the people who aren't. We could make our fans happy, but we don't want to upset these people, so let's go this way. And then it's like, now you just have a bad product.
Indeed. I don't think that Superman will be a good product. And I think that the reason people are not going to want to go see it is not just that people are like, I doubt it will be good. I'll see when it comes out. They don't have kids. So Iron Man came out, what, 08?
08.
We're talking 17 years ago now.
Same year as The Dark Knight.
17 years ago. And that kicks off the MCU. Hulk didn't do as well. Captain America, Thor did really well. Avengers was massive. Okay, 17 years ago, I'm, how old was I? 23, 22, 23 years old. So I'm like, I'm going to go see a movie. I got nothing else to do. Now I've got a wife and a kid, as do, and people my age are much more likely to have more kids than I. And so we're no longer going to see these movies. More importantly, millennials largely don't have kids. And they're just like, I don't know, I'm over it. I don't care about this stuff anymore. So it's culture is breaking apart. There used to be a unified intellectual property chain, I suppose. We had certain shows that everybody liked. They kept making them over and over again. They were very popular. And now we have small pockets of culture around the country that like some things and don't like others.
It's because the superheroes are Jewish.
Which one is? Is it? Oh, Sabra. Is that her name?
Sabra was
Sabra?
Superman.
I mean, yes, but Superman was created by Jewish men. Superman was created by Jewish men, though. That's like one of the things that they
Batman.
Batman.
Well, Jews created probably a lot
Superman.
of the vibe, but
That's actually the joke from Harvey Birdman, Harvey Attorney at Law. Like, what was Birdman? Like a Hanna-Barbera or whatever superhero? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so then they made a spoof of it where he was a lawyer, and they call him Mr. Birdman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know if the movie will do well. I'm hoping that it is. I never
Nobody
want.
goes to movies.
If you don't want
to have to repurpose, I've seen a lot of movie
I
theaters.
think COVID destroyed everything.
I will say, go see F1.
They're repurposing them to be able to
Top Gun Maverick did well. When was it?
That was 2021. Okay, but the reason that did well isn't because it had like a gazillion-dollar opening weekend. It did fairly well. It broke $100 million, but it got a lot of repeat business from people going to see multiple times, and the word of mouth.
Because everybody said it's not woke.
Indeed.
But they're saying
that's why
they're saying
I went.
Superman isn't, but they're just like the people that don't like it are citing story issues, and they're not saying that, they're not giving that reason. Also, that's become the thing. If somebody asks me if a movie's like, I'm like, I don't know what that means to you. That means something different to everyone. So I don't use it. I try to use that word.
People are watching movies on their phone. Like the majority of people aren't even watching them on a TV.
Go see F1.
But here's the crazy thing. So the 4th of July weekend, went back to Chicago and we drove around. I landed at Midway, which is my neighborhood. And so when we were leaving, we're just driving through the neighborhood and there's nobody anywhere. And this is literally the 4th of July. And we landed, it was like 1 o'clock. And guys, I am like, this was the black pill moment of all moments of my life. Where I grew up on the 4th of July, by 9 a.m., grills would be going. There'd be cars parked on every street lining the park. There would be baseball games happening, and everyone would be excited all day. They'd hang out, and they did not do it. And there was nothing going on. And we drove by the park. There was maybe, I think we saw 15 people. The baseball fields were overgrown with weeds. And I'm like, where is everybody? What happened? And the argument I hear is they're all just staying inside and going online. Maybe that sounds like a reasonable circumstance, but I don't know if I believe that. Like, people were in their homes before, but to go back to Chicago, the third biggest city in the country, and in my neighborhood where every year of my life growing up, 4th of July, jam-packed everywhere, literally nobody anywhere. It was wild. It was nuts. It's just it's weird to see that happen.
Why do you think that is? Because the societies that people want to be indoors?
The argument that, I asked the question to my friends and other people, like, where is everybody? Like, how come people stopped going outside?
And
They're on the internet.
They poor?
Well, I mean, it's a lower middle class neighborhood, I guess. Lower class-ish. There's a lot of gangs. There's bullet holes in windows some places, but it's not that bad. The houses there are now going for like $200,000 or $300,000.
I'd stay inside as well.
Yeah, but either way, when I was a kid, with all of those problems, when you went outside on the 4th of July, or any weekend for that matter, any weekend, you would see baseball fields, 4 games happening at once, overlapping with each other.
A lot of the best parts of America are just your own home. Like, there's an,
I think.
Like, I was in San Antonio, I made that joke, and it's true. It's like, yeah, you guys like it here because your house is nice and it's affordable, and you can have a big house. But as soon as you leave it, you're like, this place is terrible.
But people still used to go outside of their houses and talk to each other.
Yeah.
And what I think is happening now, and I don't know if it's for sure, people go online and find a unique community specific to them that doesn't exist in their physical reality. And so they don't want to go and hang out outside with their neighbor and play baseball. They want to hang out with their other, toaster cosplaying friend or something.
Well, it's
They're
because
watching
people
Timcast.
don't have kids, and if you
It's
don't
at
have,
night, though.
if you don't have kids, you don't really grow up.
Yeah.
That's
Once
true.
you have kids, you actually grow up, and then you start seeing the value of having, a barbecue, or any little thing becomes a big thing because you realize for your kid, you're creating the foundation for their life. So when people don't have that and they're 35, 40, and then they just watch the internet all day, and obviously they're not going to also go and support the new Superman movie.
I wonder, is this all intentional to prepare us for an AI industrial revolution?
I don't know how it could be intentional.
It's like a hindsight 2020 thing. You know how it's like you look back, like looking at art history now through the lens of that we have social media or just art in general, or movies, or like the first movie theaters that were Nickelodeons, and they literally watched one reel. Like you'd pay 5 cents to watch the equivalent of a 1 minute movie. And then it became, well, we need longer movies. But now we've gone back to 1 minute. So it's like we don't realize what you're saying is true. We are being set up for AI, but
Live in the pod and eat the
because
bugs.
it's a natural thing. And once we have it and it's part of everything, we'll look back and go, oh, that's why we were.
So the argument is, the saying, you will live in the pod, you will eat the bugs. That's what the Agenda 2030, was, all of that stuff. And with AI coming and prominent tech leaders believing that AI will shut down most information-based jobs and white-collar jobs. In the Black Mirror episode, for instance, they have this device that they talk to, and she's like, I got to pay these bills. What did she say? Like, I got to buy my insurance. And it goes, I can do that for you. Logging in now. All right. The bill is $14.98. I can pay that with your credit card. Do it. You're done. Your errands are taken care of. And so that's going to eliminate most jobs. Amazing thing happened with the emergence of crypto, in that people had been setting up bill systems with crypto where you could pay by QR code, so you no longer needed a rep. You literally you'd get a bill, and then you'd scan a QR code and hit send, and then your bill is paid. It's automatic. What we're seeing now is, when I see in my neighborhood nobody goes outside anymore, I'm like, the people have chosen to live in the pod. They're not yet eating bugs, but they will soon, I guess.
Or they were deported, hopefully.
My neighborhood was not Mexican.
No.
It was Polish.
Not nearly enough
Did
deported.
it ever become?
The Mexican neighborhood is past Cicero. So the Midway area.
They were probably partying outside.
No, I mean, nothing. Like, we drove around and we were like, there's nobody. The roads were empty. Now, when they shut the roads down for the NASCAR race, there were a lot of cars, but that's hyper concentrated in an area with roads being shut down. I wouldn't say that I saw, when they shut the roads down in downtown the night of the 4th and everyone was leaving, it looked like a normal Friday night to me. And for 4th of July, I was surprised. However, the beaches were nuts. And that actually is fairly normal for Chicago. But to see nobody out in the parks in the neighborhoods was weird to me. Yeah.
See, I would love that. I used to work maintenance for an apartment complex, and after the 4th of July, it would just be littered with garbage out front from people barbecuing out front of the building.
In Canada, it's
Stay home.
They said not to do fireworks for Canada Day. People still did it, but there's a lot of Indians in Canada, and they do their cultural events, and they go hard. It's almost like the new immigrants are the ones who are celebrating, but their own things.
I think whether we want to or not, there's going to be an AI industrial revolution, and it's going to eliminate a lot of jobs overnight.
Yep.
I think this show can't exist in an AI world. I don't know how many years we have left, but I don't see it.
I think the personalities are still going to be something that people are attracted to. I do think the AI is going to do a lot of changing the way that we,
I think it'll be more necessary to have shows like yours.
I disagree. We already struggle against competing with, look at our shorts, for instance. Shorts from the show do between 5 and 20,000 views, maybe. If we're lucky, we'll get 20K, but they get 10K. And someone can make a short where it's a fake story, AI generated about a squirrel that got rescued, and it gets 27 million. So perhaps we exist in a small niche space that is tolerated because it's not as impactful as on the larger ecosystem. But over a long period of time,
But the guy who made that's making no money.
I'll also say this, like this show can't survive without subsidy. So if I did not do my morning show, we could not afford to do this show. At the amount of viewership and scale. So it's interesting, like there's a period of growth that happens in media where it's kind of expensive to do radio shows, but a radio they build it up and then it's a guaranteed captured audience of, everybody basically. So big companies buy ads and it works. Eventually you end up with Fox News Corporation, its own skyscraper in New York City, and they're getting, 17 million views every night because this was 20, 30 years ago or whatever. I don't know if they ever got that many, but it's large. It's in the tens of millions. And so when you have 10 million viewers, a single ad read one time is going to cost $100,000 to $200,000. And so now you're selling to these massive corporations guaranteed space to reach 10 million people, and they do four or five commercials per spot. So they're doing like several $1 million per hour. Today you can't reach that, but the technology has gotten cheaper. But what we can't compete with here is people are going to do Zoom calls. The Zoom call interviews are lower quality, so I started doing them on my morning show, and now I'm actually getting press coverage for the Zoom calls because it opens up the access to prominent political personalities that normally don't want to do in person. But with the decentralization of media, a politician in D.C. says, why go on Timcast IRL? Sure, we average like the second biggest live stream in the country. I could go on that show. Or I can just Zoom call 3 smaller shows and get that all cranked out in a couple hours and not have to travel. So we try to do in person, but we struggle to make that happen because prominent guests don't want to do it. Liberals especially don't want to do it if they can't control the scenario. And it's expensive to pay for travel and to hire people to do travel and cars and all of that stuff. So what I think ends up happening is, I'll put it this way. For this show...
having comedians on.
Well, we like having comedians on. It makes the show fun.
Yeah, it is fun.
The morning show that I do has a profit margin of like 95%. Timcast IRL is flat or negative because of the cost of travel and staffing and space and cameras. So I use the money.
Yahoo didn't say yes to coming on?
No, no. Actually, when I met with Netanyahu, they actually were discussing who wanted to have him on and talk to him, and it was go to Israel and talk to him. And I'm like, I ain't going to Israel. I'm not going to fly there. But a couple people there were like, I will. Well, we want to do a public interview with you. But the challenge that we have is the cost of, I'll put it simply, like the cost of competing with, look, I compete with myself. Like, let's just make it as simple as possible. I can turn the camera on anywhere in the world in a hotel room and talk for 20 minutes and make a video and have a 95% profit margin. My only costs are going to be like maintaining the camera and having a good working computer. And it's ridiculous. That's where I was at before we started IRL. IRL's got massive infrastructure to be able to do a sit-down live show every night, flying people in. That's the distinction. So right now, every day, there is a new young person producing content with a massive profit margin where they sit in a room with a low-cost camera, and Timcast IRL is an older system that struggles. Fox News and MSNBC and CNN largely survive because they have carriage fees that still exist because there's an older population that still pays for those carriage fees. We don't have that. So when the generation that watches shows in person and likes this die or retire and stop paying attention, there's no way this show is going to be able to compete with AI-generated content and young people. So the only outcome would be my morning show turns into something like that, I guess.
Well, thanks for having me on, man.
Appreciate it. My point ultimately is,
but yeah, it's scary.
I don't know how much time this show has. Maybe
none of us have every AI could take everything really. But
I think it will.
But that hopefully everything gets cheap,
so
we can just chill at home, and then that's why they need to legalize the drugs and
so
sit at home. And
he's not wrong. Without work or purpose, people become unhealthy and angry and violent. So this is like mouse utopia territory, like Rudyard Lynch was saying. And I don't know what ends up happening, but I think people need to understand that the AI revolution has the potential to transform humanity in ways hitherto undreamt of.
That's why I said the other night that AI is going to be a bigger deal than the printing press. Like the changes that are coming to society, it's Not gonna no one can predict how society is going to react to having that kind of productivity. If all of the predictions about AI are correct, you have no idea what it's going to do to a society that has that kind of productivity and has so few actual roles for real people to be in. You know, I mean, there's a lot of people that when they retire, 6 months later they kick
die.
the bucket.
Or they go get another job.
Very frequently.
But I think what is it? The most common age of death is just after retirement.
Yep. And that's, if you're an older person, you retire and maybe your significant other has passed away. That's why you see a lot of old people that go to McDonald's every morning and they have their coffee because it's just somewhere to go and hang out with people. Then they come home, then they go to a job that young leftists think that it's a terrible thing that they're at work. But these people are like, well, if I don't do this, I sit around in my house and just watch TV. Here I can actually interact with people. There's a social aspect to it, and people need that.
I think that we are chickens in a chicken coop. And what that analogy references to is you look at the chickens, they go about their business every day. The rooster's in charge. Among the chickens, they know who's the boss. There is a super hen. She clucks around and she's top of the pecking order. And there's a rooster who watches over them and he tells the women what he wants. We don't interfere in their daily lives. They have their hobbies, whatever it may be. I don't know, eating bugs. And then we come in and we take from them what we want. I don't see why there's an argument that humans are free from this exact circumstance. We do it to every other animal. Why would humans not do it to themselves? In fact, we did it for generations with slavery, and slavery still exists. So what I mean by that is the interests of the American public to whatever superstructure exists in government, they don't care about your day-to-day lives. They don't seek to interfere in us sitting here bucking amongst ourselves. I don't care what the chickens are balking about, as long as I get my eggs. Only when there is an interference in the work product of your labor do you then get some kind of crackdown where the person goes in and breaks it up. Mm-hmm. So I think it is fair to say, whether it is the existing U.S. government, deep state, whatever you want to call it, or just a superstructure without a nucleus, powerful individuals that have wants and desires and requirements, they ultimately don't care about the will of the people insofar as if it doesn't destabilize the eggs that are produced, we don't care what they do. If the system destabilizes, they'll come in and stabilize it however they have to. So when you see Trump himself get flustered over Epstein, Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, all of a sudden, phase 2 of the Epstein release is literal nothing. You have to wonder if the farmer came in and kicked the rooster and told him to back the F off.
This is like when Trump swore during the Iran stuff, and I was like, that's bad. Everyone's laughing about him. It makes him look out of control. It takes away from the gravity of his position when he loses his cool.
Maybe. But I think it showed that the boot was coming down.
It's just,
it worries you.
Yeah.
But I don't think the president is the most powerful person on the planet necessarily, because the president has limitations, and there's in skateboarding, someone might ask who's the best skateboarder in the world, and it's there's no such thing. Because everybody does it in a different way.
He's got nothing on Mecha Hitler.
Nothing. He's the best. But, and what I mean by that is when it comes to the power structures of the planet, there are people that Trump has concerns about and has fears about and is beholden to. He knows that if Saudi Arabia starts dumping oil into the system, it's going to cause chaos back at home. So he's worried about whether or not he's going to piss them off too much. And then you get these superstructures essentially.
Does that prevent us from getting those Trump cell phones, though? That's what I really need to know.
Trump phone, a golden Trump phone?
You need a Trump cell phone, dude. How much are they? $5?
You should side-eye anybody who actually gets the Trump cell phone.
Does it just capture all your data and it mines crypto for Trump?
The gold Visa, the gold card thing?
Yeah.
Other countries are doing it now.
Yeah.
New Zealand's doing it.
Really?
It's
hilarious.
It's good. It's getting weird, man. The AI is developing so rapidly and so quickly. It's kind of the transformation is going to be like the Industrial Revolution times 100. Mm-hmm. Really? It's going to be an overnight thing where you're just like, what just happened?
Yeah, the how fast it happens too. Well, that's the thing, you can't really predict.
So
because
we'll use one example. GTA 6 has been in development for how long?
What, 20 years?
Eternity?
20 years?
It's a long time.
12 years. We are probably a couple of years away from you being able to just tell the computer to make GTA 7 and it'll do it in a day.
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where we are right now, you can, you're shaking your head, but can you program an Atari game?
I can't.
Yes, you can. Because the current versions of Claude and Gemini, you literally just say, make me a game that does this, and it will make you a game at a higher, that is actually better than Atari. So we're probably 6 months out from being able to make, from you being able to say, I want to play a new version of Super Mario Brothers, the original for NES, make me new levels, and it'll render that in 3 minutes. And then you will have the game. We do this all the time here on the show.
Think it'll be still as good, though?
It'll be identical. So a few things that I've done. Live on the show, I programmed a space. I made a game called Border Patrol.
Like Space Invaders?
It was like Space Invaders. You were a character that could fire a gun upwards as aliens were trying to cross the border, and you had to destroy the aliens before they got in. And then I simply told it, create the ability to launch grenades, create 10 HP. I literally said, make a game that does this, and Gemini made the game, and it was more advanced than Atari. So it was comparable to like a Nintendo game. Within a year, it'll be Super Nintendo, then PlayStation. Within a couple of years, you will. So what we already have with VEO and Midjourney V1 looks incredible. Midjourney V1 looks nuts. We are a few years away from you opening up your Disney Plus app, and it's going to be called Disney World or something, and you're going to press the microphone button and say, I want to watch Spider-Man fight Godzilla, and it'll go, you got it, and then it'll make the movie. And then within 3 minutes, you have a full feature-length film of Spider-Man fighting Godzilla.
And it kind of goes back to what you were saying about how there isn't like a cohesive narrative around society anymore, is that movies and television shows used to be something that people coalesced around. People would talk about them at the water cooler, right? When a new show came out and everybody was watching it,
Now they talk about Iran.
Yeah. Well, the point being is that now everybody's at home on their own in their little pocket of the internet. They don't feel the need to socialize with their media the way they did 10, 20, 30
We'll still
years
have to
ago.
go to a grocery store and stuff, though, right? And coffee.
Not with Instacart and Amazon.
People like doing it.
So that was I can't remember who said that. There was
Who the hell likes going?
I can't remember who said that. There was a guy who said, I don't go and buy envelopes because I need to buy envelopes. I go because on the way there, I pet the dog. I greet my neighbor. I say hello to the clerk. I do these things to be a part of society. But kids who grow up without that don't know what you're asking them to miss. They say, I don't know what that is. So they say, I need an envelope. I press the envelope button on Amazon and it appears at my house. And they're like, but don't you want to pet a dog? What do you mean? Don't you want to go out, walk, and smell the flowers? What are flowers? I've never seen.
Really, we are just going to end up staying home because outside will just be chaos.
Ever since COVID, that's been happening as it is.
If you can afford a home.
Well, I mean, stay in your apartment.
So a lot of the white collar jobs that'll go, like you think, would that be bad?
I think it's going to cause an economic. So when the Industrial Revolution happened, this is what leads to a lot of revolutions and violence, because through no fault of their own, a person was like, my access to food, shelter, and security has evaporated because the job I used to have is now mechanized and they don't need me anymore, so they let me go. And what's going to happen with AI is going to be massive. And now they predict this. Like when I say they, I say like the tech billionaires and the government have been predicting this. Let me show you something I made. Maybe you don't believe me. Let me see if I can.
They do like
I believe you. I'm just scared.
Well, let me show you this. So these are some VEO videos I made where I said third-person video game gameplay, steampunk game, players female in red cloak with steam-powered gauntlet and steampunk sword. It made this. Let's start from the beginning. It made this in a minute.
So then what?
So this
Crazy.
Well, hold on.
People
I
gonna
got
play
more.
GTA then?
I got more. Here's another one. I said game has visible heads-up display. It made this.
Get ready for this.
This all just means that we're living in a simulation too, right?
Maybe. Check this one out.
We definitely are. Last night I
With this city
figured
under
it
my
out.
control, I will bring true order to this chaotic world.
It's like a sick game.
Wouldn't it be a great game? So I was just like, so I had seen a video on X where someone said, they said third-person video game gameplay made by video AI, and I was like, I wonder if I could do that. So I said, make a heads-up display, make an energy, and then the General Voseth or whatever says he'll control the city, and it shows this little cutscene before it looks like they're about to fight. Now, what I was actually, I never have time to do any of my goofy projects. I was like, what I want to do is make a series of fake video game streams that are clips from an amazing game that doesn't exist. But it literally took me all of those videos was probably 10 minutes. And now they're just videos, they're not games. But I showed the game before. I made as I mentioned, like a space shooter game where aliens are traveling. They had different HP. There were boss battles, and it took me literally 3 minutes to make. I think within a year, you'll be able to go on Claude or Gemini and say, you're not going to be able to do Mario because it's IP, but you're going to say, make me a platform game where you play a character who collects items, can power up and can fly in the style of Super Mario World, and it will make an entirely new version of it. And it'll do it in 5 minutes. These games are not very like what is the maximum size of Super Mario World? Is it like not even a megabyte?
Yeah, they're small. I don't know exactly, but
there's no way to like fight back against that, or is that we're just screwed?
Are we screwed? It's just the way things are. Super Mario World was 512. Oh my God. Super Mario World was 512 kilobytes.
Yeah.
that's
You didn't get into
AI,
megs
on
until,
AI,
like, N64.
I wouldn't be surprised if AI could make that right now.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I watched this documentary on the making of GoldenEye and all of the work that went into getting that game made, and it's sad to think that we're
8 megabytes.
Yeah.
R64.
Yeah. Like megabytes was when you started getting into 64. I think GoldenEye was 12. And like you look at how much work and artistry went into making those games, and you think about how now it's just going to be somebody giving a prompt, and that's depressing.
But is it really? Because video game companies, I mean, are they using AI already?
I mean, I'm talking about a game that was made
This is
in
wild.
1995.
ChatGPT says it can already create the basic code structure of a remake of Super Mario World, but it requires you to plug in the sprites. So you can generate the sprites, you can generate the code, but it can't connect the two. You have to load them onto a server that it can connect to make it function.
I hate that this is the type, because the thing is you're going to have to be interested in whatever you're making to begin with. Two of my favorite movies in the last couple of years were Gran Turismo and F1, which came out this year. F1, I have no interest in F1 as a sport. I don't watch F1, but the movie was fantastic. But if we're talking about a world where I'm going to have to prompt to make a movie, I would have never thought to prompt to make a movie about something like this. So I want to be shown art from people who are passionate about what they're making and bring a level of humanity to it that precludes my ability to understand before I watch the piece. I don't know anything about this world or these types of characters until I enter that world through the lens of what they've created. I don't want to only look at the world through the lens of something that I can conceive.
Can't wait to go to Mars. Mars is gonna be sick.
So I just told Gemini Canvas to remake a side-scrolling platformer similar to Super Mario World, and it said yes, and it's programming it right now. We'll see what it makes.
Then you get arrested for copyright. It's like, psych, we got you.
no.
I think it's failing. Yeah, I think it's not working. We'll see. It made it. I did a bunch of basic Atari-style games or early Nintendo-style games. I had no problem making them, as long as it was like single screen. I made one where you travel. I said, make a simple version of the original Zelda, where you move through a dungeon and fight bad guys. And so it doesn't do graphics very well. So when it swings a sword, a rectangle just appears in front of a bigger rectangle. And then the bad guys are different colored shapes. And then you collect items and you could move through doors and there was a boss. So we'll see. But right now we're going to go to your chat. So smash the like button, share the show with everyone. You know, the Rumble, members only uncensored show will be up at 10 p.m. You don't want to miss it. We seamlessly transition right from the show into that. That'll be at rumble.com/Timcast IRL. And if you want to call into the show and talk to us, and you can tell us that we're right or wrong or otherwise, join us at timcast.com, join the Discord server, get involved, find community now before it's too late.
Better do it, otherwise he's going to replace it all with AI calls. They're all going to.
You know what I'll do? We'll make a Discord of 10,000 various AI bots, and it's like only one actual member. And they're like, this is a great community, and they're sitting in an empty room with just
One day he'll set up a meetup in the real world, and nobody shows up.
all robots. All right, J.H. Wilder says the 1776 coffee just came in. It is as American. It is as American as apple pie. I appreciate that all cast brew can be drank black, unlike other coffee brands, which are so rot gut that they need cream and sugar to be palatable. Thank you. We tried out a bunch of different blends, and we inquired on many different companies. And our distributor who does our formulations, and well, we do the formulations, but who actually puts them together, did a great job. They got great coffee. And then we strive to have the best. So castbrew.com. Josie's new 1776 blend. It's American cream. It's got a nice little flavor to it. TM King says, watching from the hospital, wife and I are officially above replacement rate. Bravo.
There you go. Congratulations, brother.
Right on.
But are they white?
That's the question.
Good
Jay
point.
Dirt Biker says, bro, they're stripping the topsoil layer and shipping it to China via boat. That's what people are saying. They're buying the farmland to steal the topsoil. They're going to create a dust bowl in this country. We are being ripped to shreds.
China is an enemy, and people that think that they're not are kidding themselves.
All right. JW Velasquez says, for the Antifa tat prank, you pay the tattoo artist to ink the swastika as usual, but just do the strike through with a fine point Sharpie. Wash off in a day or two.
Goes home and takes a shower. It's like, oh, no.
The James Black says, thoughts on Dean Withers weaponizing his audience to dox and get CPS called on a caller to his show over a disagreement. These people are scumbags.
It's not
That's
good.
evil.
All right. Ryan Pombert says, Andrew Wilson and his wife and his kids are 1,000 smarter than me. What does that mean? Like I love you 3,000? I'm sure Tim is upset about this and will refuse to accept or debate. Andrew Wilson is welcome on the show anytime. I have tremendous respect for him. I think he's a great personality. He's a very smart guy. And I have a long form discussion on rights, what rights mean, and breaking down how Warren Smith, he edited out my responses in the debate and then said them himself. This is like, I don't accept, I even say this, like, Andrew is probably right about a lot of things. I'm probably wrong about a lot of things. I believe that my moral worldview and philosophies are correct. He thinks his are correct. And that's why we had the discussion. But what I don't like is someone taking a year-old debate, editing in only me, like portions where I'm like looking worse, cutting out my actual response, saying them yourself, and then saying I'm struggling and I'm failing. It's smarmy bullshit. Sorry for swearing again, but it is. It's like, dude, here's what I want. I want the actual core of the argument on rights between Andrew and I to be ingested as it is, and then people can make a determination for themselves. And Andrew and I should probably have an additional debate where we continue the conversation. What I can't stand is anyone left or right intentionally ripping apart the core so that people don't understand the truth and they don't understand the moral philosophies. Instead, they say things like, wow, Tim, did you really not understand? And I'm like, no, the dude just cut out my response. Like, what am I supposed to do to that? And then YouTube is spam blasting it. And I'm getting people asking me, like, I'm getting requests for comments and stuff. And I'm just like, guys, none of that is real. It's not real content. What do you do when someone gets promoted in the algorithm on fake content? I have no idea. Well, I made a response to it.
So what is what is he debating you on?
Andrew and I had a debate on whether rights exist. Andrew's debate, I'll say this because, again, with respect, he argues rights are entitlements without duties. And I suppose my mistake was not just attacking his semantics, instead trying to convey my understanding of the moral philosophy and meanings. First of all, entitlements can't have duties. That's oxymoronic. It's paradoxical.
What's an entitlement?
An entitlement is something that you are intrinsically allowed to have, that you are by nature or virtue allowed to have. So so the problem with the concept of rights is that they're ill-defined. Rights are defined as entitlements by the dictionary, and entitlements are defined as rights by the dictionary. So it's circular.
That's why I like white privilege rather than privilege.
Privilege, exactly.
I like privilege better than.
The question becomes, what does a person mean when they say they have a right to something? And my definition is that it's something they believe they can't survive without. And then we try to define when something actually enters into the territory of a true right, whether you actually have a right to it, whether or not you could survive. So that means only some things you have a right to that you are allowed to have by virtue of existence.
Didn't that UN guy say there was no such thing as rights?
Or
like the WEF guy?
Yes.
I forget. So they are the elite kind of already think that, right?
They do, and they're wrong because this is a semantic argument. This is the problem with the debate around rights. They're making a semantic argument. Andrew made a semantic argument that what we believe to be rights can't exist because there is no truth but power, which is an anarchic and this concept exists within anarchic philosophy as well as fascistic philosophy. That the only thing that is true is what you can enforce to be true. Therefore, no one has any true right to anything because they must have the right to exert force to obtain it, which omits my point. If you are standing alone naked in the woods, what can you do and what must you do? And then how would we define something as your right to do? So my argument is When someone says they have a right to something, what they are basically telling you is, if I can't do this, I die, or my survival is in jeopardy. His argument is people just claim they should be allowed to do something by virtue of their opinion, my argument largely is there are things that we must intrinsically be able to do to survive. And it's exemplified. And where does this come? It's not axiomatic. It's rooted in communist countries that curtail rights fail, and countries that allow an expansion of rights tend to succeed. The U.S. begins to fail as communistic philosophies and authoritarianism rises, stripping away people's right to liberty.
Do you think China will fail?
I think China only began to succeed because
they're cheating.
They're
cheating, like to a communist, they'd be cheating, right?
So when China first began, they were struggling and failing. They were starving and they were dying to tens of millions, and Mao killed more people than any other human.
Yeah.
It's only when they began to adopt more liberties in their marketplace, they began to relax how their economy worked, that they began to find some degree of success. But I think people are correct in saying that China may be a paper tiger. They have big, fake, empty cities, and some argue their population size is not actually 1 billion. They've been flubbing the numbers.
Did you see that Trump said he would bomb Beijing today?
Yes. He said it in 2022, I think.
Pretty badass.
There was a story. There was a story that was really interesting that Daily Beast said they had leaked audio of Trump telling a donor he threatened to bomb Beijing and Moscow, which is funny, but there's an actual video of a Trump donor in 2022 that we covered where he holds the phone up and they film it. And Trump says, I told Putin and I would bomb Moscow. And he says, I don't know if he believed me, maybe 5%, but, I told him I'd do it. Anyway, I did an hour-long breakdown on my view and understandings of the moral philosophies around rights. That'll be up on Sunday. And again, what I find irksome is that someone like Warren Smith or Sam Cedar, and there's other people, intentionally break the argument so the audience can't understand. I may be wrong about all of it. But the important thing is that you hear what I actually think and what Andrew actually thinks. And then you can say, you know what, Andrew makes a great point. I think Tim is wrong. What Warren did was he removed my arguments and then said, Tim doesn't know what he's talking about. So then all you actually see is what Andrew is saying. You don't actually see what my point was. And I think that's smarmy scumbaggery.
Do you think AI is going to automatically take more rights away? I think it will.
I don't know. I mean, it depends. So like the issue of rights as I try to we're taking AI's rights away, right? Like, well, they don't. I don't think AI has any rights.
It doesn't yet.
So like the argument over rights as survival, the reason healthcare is not a human right is that healthcare is not something that inherently exists as a function of physics. So you can't force someone to give you healthcare, but you do have a right to get healthcare from someone else. A nation that would restrict the ability of injured or sick individuals from getting healthcare will likely struggle to succeed and result in hindrance. The degree to which a nation inhibits the rights of its citizens, you can see the degree of stagnation and ultimate failure. So, for instance, the Soviets failed in 69 years because a curtailing of liberty and the right to make determinations for yourself, that is, the inherent ability for you to choose what is best for you, resulted in the failure of that governmental system. You can exist as a system like China where you actually succeed, grow, and become wealthy by finding that balance of where you can curtail the rights of individuals but still allow a degree of economic freedom, and that's what they're trying to do. So we call them a pseudo-communist country where they allow businesses to start, but they can snap their fingers and shut the business down whenever they want.
And they don't vote, right?
Yeah, I mean, they vote.
Do they?
They have a president. It's not real. And so what ends up happening with
women vote there?
I don't know how their electoral system works, but I believe they do have some kind of voting system.
Yeah.
And there's a party, but you maybe have to be a party member. I'm not entirely sure. My point ultimately is the United States is the greatest country this planet has ever seen because its core foundations were the protection of liberty against government tyranny. And the only reason the United States is now struggling is because communist philosophies have taken over a large portion of the country.
You think Trump is using some of those to his advantage? Like, what do whatever he just passed what bill? The
big beautiful bill.
Yeah,
it's got everything.
The being born in the country thing.
Yeah, birthright citizenship. That's a good thing.
He's trying to get rid of it.
Right, that's a good thing.
It is.
Yes.
Yep.
Why?
So I would align this with the core tenet that creates the Second Amendment: the right to defend yourself, your society, and your culture. Very few countries have complete open birthright citizenship the way we do, but I'll explain it in a very simple analogy. There were baseball fields in my neighborhood where I grew up. They've overgrown with weeds and they put soccer goals there instead. If there is a functioning government that produces a large degree of success, and you dilute the ideology of that system, and you bring in external miscellaneous thought, then you will bog down that system and eventually it will be hindered. So what I see largely is mass migration. Let's talk about like anchor babies, for instance. Why is it bad? A family comes here intentionally, as illegally enters the country and gives birth to a child, and then they get deported. That kid then comes back to the United States at some point, or they stay here because they get some refugee program. And what do they tend to do? They work in a community, get money, and send that money to a foreign country through remittances. This extracts the trade medium from a local jurisdiction. So if you look at a city like Detroit, why did Detroit collapse? When the Rust Belt started breaking down as the auto industry was failing, that sustained that local jurisdiction. They didn't have a local currency. So you build cars, the cars are sold, and money comes into Michigan. When the auto manufacturing collapsed, all of a sudden there's no money. There's no principal function of to generate value for this location. One thing I often ask myself when I travel is, how does this city sustain itself? This is a curiosity I have. So I went to Wellington, New Zealand, and I said, what is the chief function of this city? Because there's got to be something of value produced and traded with to maintain a city, because cities don't grow food. They take food from somewhere else. Wellington, New Zealand is government. Government takes money from everyone around the country and then centralizes it in Wellington. DC is the exact same thing. So when you have people coming into your country and taking money out of the locality and sending it back, you are extracting the value of that community and you are weakening its ability to sustain itself.
I get with like the illegal immigrants, but like what about, because now it's like anybody who doesn't have a green card, apparently.
Yeah, no one should just get to be a citizen. Like, if I love this analogy. If your neighbor's cow walks into your yard and gives birth, you don't get to keep the calf. Like, so I'll give you a few other heavy political examples. If a Chinese family, they actually do this, fly to the U.S. and then give birth to a kid and fly back. It's called Chinese birth tourism. It happens. That kid can come back in 20 years or 30 years, get a job, and then 15 years later, run for president. Mm-hmm. Why would we want a Chinese-born national who is a card-carrying, avowed member of the Chinese Communist Party to have the right to be our president? That makes literally no sense. That's just one political incongruence. But you also have, once again, let's do the baseball field thing. Baseball fields are kind of simple.
But then what if they're from Belgium or something?
I don't care if they're from Belgium or from Pakistan.
That's where the race argument falls apart from.
Let me tell you, I like baseball. I like baseball. I don't like soccer. I don't care if you like soccer, you're allowed to. Soccer's fun. We got American soccer teams, and we do well in the world in the World Cup and all that stuff. I like that my neighborhood had a baseball field. They put up soccer nets instead because the neighborhood has largely become, over the past, well, actually it's not largely become, there's no kids anymore. And so now the question is, what sports are being played in my neighborhood? I, as a bad steward of my home, I left. Did not help to maintain the values that I liked. What we end up seeing from this is, that's a simple, silly thing. Like, people might be like, who cares about baseball? But the bigger picture is free speech, the right to keep and bear arms, the right to be free from unreasonable search and seizure. These are core values that are instilled in Americans in the American tradition that don't exist in people from the third world. Some of them may understand and want this. Those people tend to come here and wave American flags. There's a viral video from an Iranian who said he was a refugee in Turkey. He came to America and he waves the American flag because he is so happy to get what we cherish. But the people who come here illegally in violation of our laws, spitting in our face, who then have kids and then use those kids to send money back to their home country, are simply saying, I will take from you and extract your value. That is a very bad thing that will erode and destroy a country.
Yeah. And immigrants that come to this country legally from all across the world, they do very well. They tend to be very successful economically. They start businesses, they contribute to their community, and that's a very, very different thing than what he's talking about.
But some of them still get, you know, you might not get a green card right away. You might get like a different type of visa. But the thing that Trump's saying is, like, if you don't have a green card but you have another visa, it still doesn't count.
Well, why should a tourist get to have their, why is
not
a
tourist but a working visa?
Yeah, like why is someone who's not a citizen of this country why is their kid get to be a citizen?
Because it's a free country.
But that's not.
Well, I'm playing devil's advocate. I agree with basically what
we can make a moral argument that this country was built by Americans.
What makes it free is that anybody can come here and become part of it
if you follow our rules and laws
legally.
Right.
But that's what I'm saying. But
So Trump has decided that the law is that you don't get to be a citizen by virtue of being born here.
right.
And I argue he's factually correct. The argument of the 14th Amendment is contentious. The purpose of the 14th Amendment was that after the Civil War, slaves were to be made citizens, and they also had children who were to be made citizens. So the statement of anyone born here is a citizen was intended to be, as of today, anyone who was born here is a citizen. And then they had a debate, and they were like, nah, it should be anyone born here at any point ever. And they actually debated it. Because the reason the debate exists, because it was not clear cut. They did not agree that that was going to be the case. In fact, the senator proposed it, said this should not include foreigners, diplomats, aliens, etc. The argument from the left is, no, that was one thing. He was saying foreigners, aliens, diplomats. He was saying those people who were diplomats, ambassadors. The argument from the right is, no, he's saying it makes no sense that literally any foreigner who comes here just gets to have their kid be a citizen. So the problem we have right now is Gen Z can't buy homes. The labor market is struggling. People keep saying, but unemployment is low. Yeah, no, that's because Gen Z isn't working and young people don't have jobs.
I think it will work if Gen Z and millennials have kids. I think Gen Z,
they're not.
too. Like Gen Z, well, so then it's going to not necessarily be that beneficial to get rid of birthright citizenship because
it will
it'll become like Japan where.
Yep. And that's too bad. But the issue right now is when you have New York giving up residential space to illegal immigrants, which they just renewed.
Canada does the same thing.
And then Gen Z says, I can't afford an apartment. How is an American Gen Zer supposed to have children if he can't even have a place to live? But an illegal immigrant can come here and get a free place to live. That is a system that is intended to destroy the American tradition. And with that, you end up bringing in, look at Dearborn, Michigan, but massive escalation of female genital mutilation.
It's not going to last, though, the birthright thing, because when the Democrats get back in, they'll repeal it.
If they do. The Democrats are split
You don't think they'll get back in?
It's possible, but the probability I would say right now is slim considering their party is fractured into two different. I pulled up a study the other day showing it was an ideological map, and then it weighted it in each different category by like age, by political party. The Democrats, I'll just keep it simple. It's a wide. Republicans are tight.
Yeah.
Republicans, which include relative moderates, former liberals at this point, largely agree. There is moderate deviation. Libertarians might very much disagree with, Trump supporters.
The Democrats, if they get in, I can see them actually upholding what Trump did because they're going to realize that they have to win.
It's possible. And so that's the reformation of the Democratic Party, but they'd have to excise the far left. So the interesting thing about this ideological map, which I can maybe try and pull up in the uncensored portion.
Which would be a good thing.
The Democrats, so I'll put it this way. Here's a spattering on the map, right? And there's a line in the middle. The top is red, and it's a standard curve. The Democrats shape like a curve and then have a bubble that sticks out. The bubble that sticks out is the far left. They are attached to Democrats but have a different worldview. This is creating a big problem for Democrats in winning larger elections because Republicans are more unified. Despite the fact that there is hyperpolarization and it is relatively split, Democrats are struggling to contend with the fact that moderates don't like gender ideology and the far left demands it.
All they have to do is legalize weed and actually run on that campaign. I don't understand. I think it's because of the pharmaceutical companies that don't want, and also the alcohol or tobacco industry. I don't know who's not letting the Democrats. You know how like Justin Trudeau openly was like, I'm going to legalize marijuana.
I would have
worked.
I would have agreed with you 5 years ago. In fact, I said Trump should pardon all nonviolent.
Trump should do it too.
Marijuana convictions at the federal level.
Whoever does it kind of will win forever.
I don't think so.
No.
Gen Z has shifted to the right. So more and more data is coming out showing Gen Z is becoming more conservative and more Christian, and their use of substances is rapidly declining. And it's not just drugs. Soda consumption among younger generations is almost gone.
I mean, their drinking has subsided, but their vape penning.
They're losers.
And
they don't have sex. They don't drink. They don't smoke.
Yeah,
they just sit around and worry about.
They're taking Adderall. They're smoking weed.
But the usage of these things is lower among Gen Z than it was among previous generations.
But hopefully, they just have kids. People just need to realize that if you don't have kids until you're in your like 40s or whatever, like you're missing out. You're kind of doing your kids a disservice because kids want to have a young parent.
But how does Gen Z have a kid if they can't buy a home?
Because sorry, am I allowed? I'm not allowed to swear, right?
Give us 2 minutes. I mean, I was swearing earlier. We try not to.
I didn't swear. That was a good catch. But if Gen Z can afford the types of things that they afford on a daily basis, they can afford kids. They're full of it.
I disagree. I mean, how many kids do you have?
2?
So you know how much formula costs?
No.
You don't know how much formula costs?
No.
It's like, what is it, like $100, $80?
I would never use formula.
Sometimes you have no choice. So I'm not a fan of formula.
You find someone with a good breast.
You find a wet nurse.
Yeah.
But for Gen Z,
I've luckily not had to deal with that. But even if you do, it's like the same. They buy Starbucks 3 times a day.
That's technically true. But that's the issue is that the cost of a house right now on average is what, $500,000.
Just rent it.
So even then you need $10,000 to move in.
The cost of daycare if both parents have to work.
Yeah, it's prohibitive.
Yeah.
Well,
Now I do think that I've made the argument that Gen Z should rough it, and the world it's getting worse for you.
A lot of these Gen Z kids though, they come out of university and they're making like 70 to 90K a year.
I mean, maybe those rare ones are having.
The issue is that instead of getting married to somebody else making that amount of money and prioritizing their future and creating a family, the culture suggests that they should just use that money to have as much fun as they can.
But that's true among millennials.
Then they don't.
Gen Z is shifting rightward on those things.
Okay.
I mean,
so you're not completely wrong. The culture is telling them to do this, but I think Gen Z is shifting right. We're going to the Uncensored Show. Yeah. We'll keep talking about it. Smash the like button. Share the show with everyone you know. Go to rumble.com/Timcast IRL. We're going to keep the live show going, and we'll swear a bit more. This one's not so family friendly, but always fun and funny. You can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Ben, do you want to shout anything out?
Yeah, benbankas.com for all tickets. I'm touring all over the U.S. and Canada. And my Instagram's at benbankas2 because the Canadian government shut down my first one. I don't know.
Condolences.
But Ben Bankas on X, Ben Bankas Comedy on YouTube and Facebook. You can check out my podcast, Bankas Podcast, on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. It's all on my website, benbankas.com.
Guys, if you want to follow me, I am on Instagram and on X at Brett Dasovic on both of those platforms. Pop Culture Crisis is live Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You should come hang out with us. It's a lot of fun.
I am Phil That Remains on Twix. I'm Phil That Remains Official on Instagram. The band is All That Remains. You can check out our new record. It's entitled Anti-Fragile. You can find it on YouTube, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Spotify, Pandora, and Deezer. Don't forget the left lane is for crime.
We will see you all at rumble.com/Timcast IRL. Thanks for hanging out.